Hello again, and welcome to the Master's Voice. I am Celestial, and you are welcome to this channel. To old and new subscribers alike, you're very welcome. I've had to make some adjustments today because of the urgency of the message that the Lord has given me. It's not quite quiet in my living room, which is where I make most of these videos, so I've been forced to make some kind of makeshift studio. I really urge you to concentrate during this prophecy. Excuse me, please. This is a serious message that I just got from the Lord. Today is August the 16th, 2025, and the title of the message that you are about to hear is I Will Proceed. I Will Proceed. Please bear in mind that when you come to the Master's Voice Prophecy blog, I know that there has formed around the growth of this work, there has formed a kind of family. There has formed a kind of community. And I'm not against those things. In fact, those things formed in spite of my stern warnings that I am not here to create any kind of community, that I'm not here to create any kind of anything. The community has formed in spite of myself. The community has formed in spite of the heaviness of the work and I will not use the word harsh. God is not harsh. God is just. Everything that God has said to the United States of America so far is just. Everything that God has said to the United States so far is righteous. God has justly judged America. God has righteously judged America. Anyone who doesn't feel that God's judgment is just is a person who does not understand justness or justice. That person wants to use their limited human understanding. That person wants to use their limited feelings. That person wants to use their limited available facts. So whatever he has in his hands in Arkansas, or whatever he has in his hands in Michigan, or whatever she has in her fancy apartment in Chicago or New York, or whatever the case may be. You may be Texan, you may be Alaskan, you may be Hawaiian, you may be sitting in California right now looking at me and trying to dare the odds, thinking that the odds will be in your favor if you cry, or if you make emotional arguments, or if you get angry at me, or whatever it is. Anyone who thinks that God is unjustly judging America is themselves unjust. Whoever doesn't understand that God is rightly and righteously judging America are themselves unrighteous and are not a right standing or right oriented person. America should have been judged a long time ago. Truly, America has no right to exist upon this earth. If God observed the sin of Sodom and Gomorrah for even a medium period, and then so early on in human history, God moved in his great anger against Sodom and Gomorrah and against the 5 cities of the plain. For Sodom and Gomorrah were only 2 of the 5. And God reached a judgment. God reached and he settled the matter. And he reached a judgment. And then he judged them. He carried out the judgment against them after speaking to someone that he knew had a soft heart, someone that he knew would intercede, someone that he knew would at least raise up prayer, to give God an opportunity to do what? To give God an opportunity to save whatever was savable in the midst of such a heinous place. But if God could move upon the 5 cities of the plain, and only one of them escaped, because that is the place that Lot begged to go and stay there. And so even because of Lot's refusal to run in any opposite direction, because he said he was old and he really wasn't up to the journey, Lot inadvertently saved one of the wicked cities. And that city's name is Zoar. So we basically I only know of 3 of the cities that were marked for destruction: Sodom, Gomorrah, and the little city of Zoar. If God could move upon Sodom and Gomorrah and judge them, and then leave America standing, God would be saying of himself that he is unjust. If God left this country still standing, still whole, still on the news. It was in my mind yesterday, just images coming to my mind, many hands reaching like this, please, please, please. And these hands were reaching, begging for a US visa. And the thing infuriated my soul. Indians, people from all over the world, Australians, Europeans, Africans, South Americans, just seeing so many hands, please, please, please. And this one man going, settle down, settle down, settle down, as the guy or the representation of America, as we will decide who gets to come to this wonderful country. We will decide. We will decide who gets a visa, settle down, and all these hands, please, please, please. And I saw the thing and I said, Lord, you know, this thing is very distasteful to me. What I'm seeing. It's very distasteful to me that people will continue to view this country as somewhere that they want to go. They continue to see it as a place that they want to live in. They continue to see it as a place that is better than their own homes, their own nations. And that's because this nation has given people an approximation of what it actually is. An approximation means that the number is 10, but we're just going to hit 8 and call it 10. We're going to hit 7.5. You know what? We're going to do 6, but we're going to round it up because we passed 5. And we all know the law of rounding up is that you round up to the nearest 10. We're going to hit a 5.5 on our low days, but we're going to call it a 10. And when we get on the news, right? When we get on the basketball court, when we get on the influencer baddie red carpet, when we get to the movie premieres and the music video premieres, we're going to call it a solid 10. And you know what? Sometimes we might even bump it up to a 12 just because we're America. I saw these people clamoring to get a visa and I just thought, there's no knowledge in the earth of what this place really is. And I didn't know what I was saying. I've handled a lot of prophecies here. I've handled a lot of questionable, as in not questionable that it's true, but just questionable, like, how can such a thing be happening? How can such a thing be taking place? And I still get to sleep in a bed at night. I still get meals, Lord. I still have a job that demands my attention, and I have to take my attention off these things that I see and put my attention on work things and deadlines and meeting quota and things like that. So this prophecy that you're about to hear, it actually started during the night. I didn't know that it was going to be a prophecy. This is supposed to be my day off, my rest day. And everybody knows that I don't like emails and I don't like phone calls and I just don't like to be bothered on a Saturday. Just leave me alone and let me have one day to myself. But this prophecy started during the night. When I went to bed, I really prayed to God. I really prayed my heart out. And as I was talking to the Lord, I was asking him, you know, Father, I just want to know, is there anything else that you would want from me? Is there anything else that I can do? And the Lord said to me one word that kind of surprised me. He said, work. That's not really the answer I was thinking. I was thinking maybe he would say something else, anything else. But then I was not anticipating that he would say work because I'm working. And then I said, Lord, work? And he said, work. And I felt bad because I thought to myself, if anyone is privy to what it takes, then it's you, Lord. And then while I was busy feeling a little bit down, the Lord said, work, 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 work. And I saw myself running. I saw myself running against the wave that was coming. And that wave that is coming is the fulfillment of the entire Master's Voice Prophecy blog all at the same time. The majority of the Master's Voice Prophecy blog concerns one nation under sin, the United States of America. Her prophetic name, the name that God gave her, the name that Jesus spoke to Prophet John, the Revelator, was not the United States of America. It's not USA, USA. The name that Jesus gave Prophet John is Mystery Babylon, the Great, the harlot, the home of witches, the home of every abominable thing. That's the name that Jesus gave her. And that's because I've always told you that Jesus is not interested in what you call yourself. Jesus is not interested in how you see yourself. Jesus is not interested in who you think you are. Jesus knows who you are. He knows your core. He knows your center. He knows exactly what you have available. He knows exactly what your expansion capacity is, how far you can go. He knows exactly the weight value. If you were a coin, if you were a bag of coins that he throws up in the air, before you could go up in the air and him catch you, he would actually tell the merchant, write down this point, that is the full weight and measure of this person. And when you hit his hand, even if you had been 100 coins, if he tells the man, write down 2, as the coin goes up in the air, a bird flying by, its beak would rip the bag open and all the coins would go flying out except 2. And when the bag hit his hand, it would be 2. Because that's how eternal, that's how powerful, that's how immaculate he is. Jesus didn't call this nation great in a positive way. In these prophecies, you've heard that America is great in sin. America is great in wars. America is great in murder, local murder, international murders, killings of other people, killings of other nations, killings of other people's dreams. The one who subverts destinies. America will stand in the path like a big rock in the middle of a stream and will cause the waters to divert. And everybody knows that when waters are together, packed together, they are much stronger. But when there's a rock, the waters will split. America has caused splits. 2 splits, 5 splits, 50 splits. She has destroyed nations. She has humbled continents. She has destroyed all of Latin America and all of Africa and all of Southeast Asia. The only people who got away from American and Western, this is European domination, I would say, are the Australians, because they look like them, and I would call them the lighter skinned Asians. The Asians, I would just call them white Asians. The Koreans, the Japanese. And the reason that they got away from Western domination is because it dawned on them one day that if we keep listening to these people, if we keep following IMF policies, and if we keep listening to these people, they are minded to destroy us forever. China stopped listening, Japan stopped listening, Korea stopped listening, and that's why they're powerhouses today. They simply stopped listening to Westerners who will always tell you to eat cabbage and broccoli, and then they will eat steak and chicken. They will build up the muscle of protein, and then they will tell you that ecological foods are good for you. Subterfuge, deceit, and destruction. I saw, before I slept, myself racing, struggling to finish the prophecies before the water comes. And that's that prophetic vision that I had all the way back in December of 2023. The one where I said I was trying to clean the pool and water began to cascade in the pool, and the water formed a powerful centrifugal whirlpool and captured me and took me away, me and my little cleaning broom, and I was carried away singing, "Why didn't you listen? Why didn't you listen to me?" I was overtaken by the fulfillment of the prophecies. If the world is a job, then God is the CEO of that job. If the world is a job that must be performed, then God is the boss and the CEO of that job. And every boss and every CEO, I've always told you, has the right to shut down operations. He has the right to shut down operations if there's no fruit coming from the company. He has the right to close everything down if there's no benefit. Nobody stays in business for friends. People get into business for money, for profit. They put their capital in and they fully expect to get a return on investment. If they can't get a return on investment the first year, they might roll it over to the second, third year. They might tell themselves things like every business has a growth period, every business struggles, every business sometimes has to punch its way up. But by the fourth, fifth year, you're not getting anything. You're not meant for business. The Bible records that the owner of the vineyard came to the vineyard and said, "What's going on with the grapes? These are useless grapes. They don't produce anything." And then it says that the vine dresser spoke up. And he said, "Give me a period with it. I'm going to dig around it. I'm going to dig all around it. I'm going to pull out the dead, whatever. I'm going to prune it. I'm going to fertilize it. I'm going to weed it." He said, "Give me a period to work with the vineyard. And if it still doesn't produce," then he said, "Yes, we can burn it." I'm sure that with this introduction, you understand why I'm here. The order has come down to burn it. I had no idea that we were this deep into the book of Revelation. I did understand that my prophecies are from Revelation, are from Matthew 24. It didn't take me long hearing from God all the years ago, all the way back in 2012. It didn't take me long to realize that these are not just generalized prophecies. These are specific prophetic markers that are all through the Bible. And that's one of the primary reasons that people hate me. Because people want to hear that the show will go on, because that's what American pastors tell the entire world. They don't just lie to the people here. They lie to the entire world that there's still more time, that God's not done. Even the ones that can truly hear God, once they deliver a prophecy, something in them starts to rise up, because when they see the sad faces in the seat, they realize it's going to be a thin offering. Or for some reason, they've been socialized to think that their job as servants of God, notice I didn't say servants of the people, they think that their job as servants of God is to cheer up the people, because wouldn't God want his people to have joy? No. God isn't interested in the joy of his people when his people have become so sodomizingly wicked. He isn't interested in the people that are out in their bedrooms trying every new position. He isn't interested in a nation that is lowering the age of sexual consent, fighting for it state by state to drop it to 14. What kind of man wants to look at somebody's 14-year-old daughter? You're looking at your neighbor's 14-year-old daughter. He's looking at your 13-year-old and thinking, well, one more birthday, and then I'm going to get Madison everything she ever wanted, because I see how you're looking at my daughter who just turned 15. What nation produces men that's interested in child flesh and child porn? What goes wrong in the brain before you begin to find minors attractive and interesting? What goes wrong in the minor's brain before she's no longer interested in going on a first date with someone in her peers? She wants a 37-year-old, a zaddy, she calls him. The biggest question of all is, as a collective, what makes this nation think that this state of affairs was going to continue unchecked? Like, is God dead? Is he blind? Why did you think for a second that there would not be a reckoning for this? The Lord said to me, work, use every available moment. And that's why I'm not waiting for my neighbors to stop their nonsense, because they'll keep it up until midnight at the very least. I made arrangements and I'm here to bring the Lord's message. It's finished for us. It's finished for us here in America. We have zoomed to a point where even I was surprised when I was matching the scriptures, which I will give you. Even I was surprised. In fact, when the Lord began to talk about the earthquake, he was talking about the earthquake. I brought this earthquake prophecy. It's a 2018 prophecy. So when I started getting it in the early years, 2020, 2019, I put it on the internet, 2020, a little bit more. You go back to the old video, you can find it only on Rumble. I don't know why they, oh yes, they took it down because it mentioned the CV19 arm thing. So they took the whole thing down in 2022. In 1 hour, the prophecy is called, straight from the book of Revelation. In 1 hour, this will happen to America, that will happen to America. Natural disasters and this and that and that. You read the prophecy, you're thinking, do you mean a single hour of time, Lord? Now you find that years have passed, 5 years have passed. 4 earthquake prophecies last year alone. Prepare for level 10, prepare for level 10, and a mighty earthquake, and a massive California earthquake. Prepare for level 10. And then you find out that now this year, as you're reading the prophecy, the Lord is like specifically telling you, go to Revelation and read verse 12. Revelation 6, verse 12. You go there. It's talking about a great earthquake, the same earthquake that is mentioned in Matthew 24. The sun became black as sackcloth of hair. How do you look at something like that? How can you look at a verse like that and read it and just think, oh no, he's just giving it for reference? He does a prophecy. He carefully teaches between earthquakes in diverse places. These are your 3s and your 4s, the Lord says. Your 3s, your 4s, maybe your 5s. And then great earthquakes. Yeah, this is your 6s and your 7s. Your 6s and your 7s, which they barely want to report accurately. Maybe your 8s. And then he says great earthquakes. And then he starts talking about earthquakes that, if we're honest, besides Fukushima and besides the one in Chile in 1960, nothing on record. But he's talking about it as if we have so much to refer to. And we don't have much to refer to because earthquakes like that tend to remove large amounts of humanity at the same time. Devastating death tolls at the same time. And so the kind of mercy that he's been showing this place that has exceeded Sodom and Gomorrah by miles. America has exceeded Sodom and Gomorrah by miles and miles and miles, hundreds of thousands of miles in her sin and her iniquity. With all that America has done on earth, God has still been holding back his hand. And then suddenly we find ourselves in Revelation 6. And if we're in Revelation 6, then we have to understand that, wow, there's been quite a few things going on. For instance, earlier in Revelation 6 that we weren't taking seriously. Like we had the first on record global pandemic, but we didn't peg it to a horse riding. That thing conquered the world. A picture of a conqueror carrying a bow without arrows. It conquered the world, but people are still saying, no, we're still waiting for a white European man to arise in Europe. And then we will know we're close to the coming of an Antichrist and all that. The stock market, God was telling me, how many times does it have to crash before? How many times does it have to crash before you will understand as people that this is the black horse riding? And he said to me, do you think that because America artificially manipulates the stock market and quickly picks it up and puts it back and says, the market is booming, the market is doing better, that was just a momentary crash because of tariffs? American stock market has had hideous plunges, one by one, the last 3 years. The worst one that I can remember before the tariffs one was the one that happened when the banks began to fold. The banks just began to fold one after another, one after another. I think it was 2023 or 2024. Whole banks just disappearing. Stock market plunging after it. God was telling me, how many times does the stock market have to go down before you understand that that is the operation of the black horse? Why is humanity still waiting for an official, hello, today the black horse rides. Today, from now on, forevermore, please think of the black horse riding. The money's getting useless. Alternate currency is being bandied about by a consortium of nations. And then we're still waiting for an official day, an official tax day to come by so we can say, okay, we can officially agree that the black horse is riding. Conflict all around the world. The red horse has been riding for years, but we're waiting for that special sign. God is not waiting for anything. God is going to proceed. And when God proceeds, we are going to be finished. And by his grace, by the time I'm done sharing what God has shown me, if you still think that America deserves a second chance, there's absolutely something wrong with you. You are selfish. Because the main reason that people want America to continue, I will tell you, is because no matter what they hear in these prophecies, no matter that they hear there's houses where children are kept, minors are kept and brought out and put naked on the staircase. Naked on the staircase. Some of you are watching movies that have scenes like this, where people go to places and then they bring out the merchandise on the grand staircase. Because I know that if I'm saying it, I know that this being America, that it has to be in a movie somewhere. And you've seen it as just part of the movie because you were thinking, no, I'm following the main character's story arc. But they're showing you what they do in these movies. And your brain is just absorbing it as so much background fluff because you want to follow Keanu Reeves or you want to follow whoever is the main actor. But they're showing a ton of their habits in these movies. If you still feel that America deserves a second chance, that means that there's no amount of suffering that other people are going through that will ever inform you that in order for that suffering to stop, the United States has to be destroyed. You think if they were really trafficking kids, if they were really underground tunnels, why aren't the police doing anything? Because the police are in the tunnels sleeping with the children. Use your brain. The children have told you that the police commissioners, they know their faces and yet they're 4 years old. But they can point and say, that man, that was the man that slept with me. That's the man. He told me to call him Papa. And you're looking at the chubby commissioner of DC or the commissioner of somewhere. The children have told you 1,000 times. But the thing is that the inside of most people in this country is dead. They pray to their bald-headed god of logic. And the logic itself is so stupid. Well, if this was happening, wouldn't that have happened? This is the majority of the thinking that we are surrounded with. If this was true, if CPS was really trafficking children, I'm sure someone would have done something about it. Who would have done something about it when the people in power actually use CPS to supply the children that they need? If the beneficiary is the one who has the most to lose, if the scheme is uncovered, why would he do anything about it? If the children are like drugs and the wealthy are like the drug takers, what on earth would incentivize the drug takers to cut off the process by which their drugs are delivered to them? Who educated you? Who educated you and then whispered, this is high-level thinking. Go forth and prosper in it. Who has convinced us in this country that the complacency that we are rotting in, complacency that causes rage in God, that when we hear the truth, we say it's a lie, it doesn't sound like God, God doesn't get involved, God wouldn't get involved in graphic things like that, because of course, Jesus is the silent witness to all the graphic things, but then how dare he speak of it? Jesus is the guy who's not supposed to speak up in polite company, polite Christian company. We don't want his conversation. How dare he speak of the things that he sees? The Lord talking to me today, I realized that it really has been nothing short of excess mercy that we're not destroyed. We don't deserve a day that we have breathed extra. Sodom and Gomorrah getting destroyed so early on in the history of civilization. America never should have. America never should have lasted this long. During the night, this is after I went to bed, after the Lord had told me work, I went to sleep. And I think I woke up twice this morning. So when I woke up once, it was too early and I realized, no, I need to sleep more. Round about the time that I was just swirling around in something that was not quite sleep and not quite wakefulness before I woke up the first time, the Lord says to me, there are massive highways and subterranean caverns and roadways under the ground. There are massive highways and subterranean caverns and big highways, large highways under the ground. And I saw a highway under the ground as well made as any highway that we have above the ground. There was a big truck on the highway speeding, but it's speeding through the dark, but it's on a well laid, there's tarmac, there's everything. And this truck is speeding underneath the earth, and it might even have been going over a body of water. So it's in a cave, it's in a tunnel, and it's going, but that tunnel is running above like a large body of water, like a sea, like an ocean. And I'm thinking, how is that possible? And I'm just sleeping. And so the best that my brain could just reply was, okay, Lord, there are tunnels and subterranean caverns and highways under the earth. And then I fell asleep. I woke up, I had my morning. I started to talk to the Lord a few hours ago, praise and worship. I started to sing to the Lord, just sing to the Lord, worship the Lord, tell him how grateful I am for everything that I have. I'm so thankful to you, Lord. Where would I be without you, Lord? And then the Lord says to me, I will proceed. Such an emphatic statement. He says to me, I will proceed. And then I was still singing, but I was thinking, I will proceed. I'm not asking for anything in this moment. This must be something from God's side. Just a moment, please. And then he says to me, Isaiah 18. Isaiah 18 was a scripture that took me a long time to figure out. It took me a very long time to figure out, simply because at the time that I would be trying to figure it out, I literally didn't know that Isaiah 18 and Isaiah 19 go together. So I think it would be in 2022, the Lord would just start speaking to me, Isaiah 18. I go to Isaiah 18, I read it. I understand the words as they are, but every time I get the scripture, God would have been talking about America prior to that. In Isaiah 18, it's talking about a people who have a dark skin. So I'm like, who is God talking to? And he would always start with verse 1. Let me read it to you. Woe to the land shadowed with buzzing wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia, which send ambassadors by sea, even in vessels of reeds on the waters, saying, Go, swift messengers, to a nation tall and smooth of skin, to a people terrible from their beginning onward, a nation powerful in treading down, whose land the waters divide. And so every time, if he gives me Isaiah 18 or 19, I'm reading it. And when I finally put two and two together one day, I can even see here the dates in my Bible. The time that I finally got it actually was not as late as the first time I got it. I see written here, prophecy, December 27, 2018. And then I see it again, prophecy, April the 3rd, 2019. And this time written next to it is American Civil War. So I had been reading it earlier then and not understanding a thing about it until I finally got it. The reason I'm remembering 2022 is because I once came to this scripture here in Isaiah 19 to prophesy out of it about the coming of the American Depression. We're going to have another Great Depression that will be worse than the first Depression. The Great Depression of the 1930s there that ended in, I think, whenever it ended. We're going to have one that is far worse than that, from which there will be no recovery. This country is going to become one of the poorest countries on the surface of the earth. Like every single thing that can be pointed to that is called wealth, accumulation, money, comfort, luxury, it's totally going to disappear. We're going to be actually longing for the taste of a little bit of sugar. Sugar will become a mystery ingredient in the United States. We won't be able to get it. You'll have to know a guy who knows a guy who knows a guy to get it. And that prophecy was a vision of America from, I think, 2021. So it took me a while to actually understand that whenever God is talking about it, he's simply pointing to the attributes. He's simply pointing to the attributes of the people that he's describing in Isaiah 18. And even the first verse, woe to the land shadowed with buzzing wings, which is beyond the rivers of Ethiopia. It took me some time until the Lord finally gave me the understanding that the busiest airports, the helicopters, the planes, the choppers, the drones, the everything else that the army is using is right here in America. And so when he was saying to me, I will proceed, and then he said, Isaiah 18, by now it's 2025, it's August 2025. I know who that verse is about. And the first thing that pierced my heart was like a sorrow. I'm worshiping God. I'm spending time with God. I'm lifting God up. But God is about to start on America again. God is. It's not that he's ignoring my praises. It's like he's using the praise and the worship to now magnify himself and speak his mind. And why should God magnify himself and speak his mind and come and start saying, oh, my desert rose, which he never talks to me like that. Oh, my desert rose, I have heard your song and I have come now to... There's some people that's all they do in their Christian life. Their whole notebook, that's all that's in it. And it's highly unlikely that this is the genuine conversation that God wants to have with a daughter who, for instance, might get slaughtered in a purge anarchy raid that is coming soon to a city near her once her city gets taken over by beast system government. It is highly unlikely that God, truly loving that woman, wants to tell her, oh, my desert rose. The problem is that her ear is tuned to an inner narcissistic frequency in which Jesus is only allowed to speak that way. And so when she comes into the prayer space and God, knowing that he's not going to be able to say anything, doesn't speak, then guess who starts speaking? The guy who's always there to fill in all the blanks. The devil. Desert rose. Once again, it is I. And you will see these same women on the internet prophesying their internal gaslighting of demons to thousands and thousands of people, male and female, who say, yes, our Lord comes soon. He has spoken to Desert Rose. I kid you not. Anyway, here on the Non-Desert Rose channel, when the Lord said Isaiah 18 to me, I felt sorrow. Again, that the Lord gets no rest from the iniquity of America. But I truly, this one was not for me today. I truly didn't expect the finality with which the Lord was speaking. And so he said to me, Celestial, the time is here. Celestial, the time is here. And I'm now moving to judgment. The matter of America has come up before my desk. Immediately, tears came to my eyes. Immediately. Because if there's one thing I've done in my life, it's to read my Bible. And these are the exact words of God to Abraham. The sins of Sodom have come up before me immediately. Tears of sorrow, tears of please have mercy. Not tears that I'm going to verbalize, God, please have mercy. It's so disrespectful to be asking God to have mercy at a time like this. Have mercy for what? So they can throw the next White House ball and eat the next crop of children that have come from as far afield as India? Because it's not your child? Have mercy for what? These tears just came to my eyes inadvertently. I said, oh God. And he said, no. The matter of America has come up before me. America has come up on my desk. And a part of me was thinking, America's been on your desk for years. But he's probably just been taking some paperwork out and looking at it. And you know the thing with God, he's so precise. He will not take out a piece of paperwork that says the murder of the children. No. If he were to take out one piece that says the murder of the children, that paper would disintegrate into the millions of children. Each one, he knows them, their birthday, the day they died, the way they died, whose mouth took which finger and ate it. Who remembers the T.D. Jakes prophecy? Church, you love pedophiles. If you haven't watched that one, you need to go and watch that one. That's a live prophecy that happened on a day that I took to stay off, to straighten out this house. I was changing out my closet. I think that prophecy is from November. So I was changing out my closet and just bringing out the heavier coats and taking out things that I wouldn't need now that fall was pretty much over. And I thought, you know what, it would be a good idea to pray with the ladies on the line. Why not 2 birds, 1 stone this thing? And I called them. The difference is that I wasn't sitting next to my laptop. The reason most of the prayer calls, the live prophecy prayer calls, are so clear is because once I know that the Lord is now in our midst and he's speaking, I record on my laptop. And the laptop has a great internal microphone that picks up everything. But that time, I was really not expecting that God was going to come in the way he came in. And so all I had was earbuds. I just had AirPods in. And we were on the line. And then all of a sudden, instead of praying and us saying the things that we were praying for, I just started talking about who has a preference for children, what the sexual ages are that the bishop prefers, what the sexual ages are that Jamal Bryant prefers. I started seeing the underground places where they sodomize the people. I started seeing that even an old person, if you think you're safe at 87 from these people in this country, you're not safe. They will catch you and sodomize you. And in their minds, the fun part is that you lived your entire life. As an older woman, you and your husband probably never did that. You and your husband probably never thought that that was an acceptable thing to do if you're from an older time. The fun that they have is that you lived all your life and then they will take that so-called form of virginity from you because that is the only form of sexual interaction that they thrive on. And the reason they're like that, to those who still don't understand, is because their entire life is devoted to perversion. That means that if we're supposed to put water in a cup and drink it this way, they will turn the cup upside down and waste the water and then slurp at it as the water is pouring. They do everything upside down. They do the opposite upside down. If a baby is given to you to love and cherish and protect, then they will absolutely have the baby by the same process, but then destroy and beat and cause split personality. Put the child out there and let huge dogs run up on them. Dogs that are on a precise chain that will stop maybe 2 inches from the baby's face. But what if the baby is too terrified and one day doesn't sit still in the chair as told, but moves? Then that means that the dog will get you that time and you might lose an eye. And then you know what? That's still okay. You have an other eye. That's who's running this nation. That's what God started talking about. And I recorded that call with all its bad audio. And because I'm not the audio queen, I don't know how to clean it up. I put it on the internet just like that to let you know what you're defending in the church, to let you know whose church you're sitting in, and to let you know that when it all goes down before the white throne of Jesus Christ, you will not get away from a Romans 1:32 judgment into hellfire. That's what most Christians don't know. You don't have to commit the sin that you're defending to get judged into hell. All you have to do is approve of it. And under Romans 1:32, you are as guilty as the one who did it. You keep supporting LGBTQ, talking about they're God's creation too. God should find one shred, one leaf of an abortion support, LGBTQ support, Nephilim support, demon support, government support, pedophile support. Let him just find one leaf of that in you when you stand before the throne, as if you don't know what spotless bride means. Then you and him will have the discussion that you thought you were having with Celestial. You will have that discussion with him just before you go downstairs forever. These people and the people in the nation, through their own complacency and their own wickedness, is the reason that God was saying, America has come up on his desk. The minute I heard that, I said, tears came into my eyes because I know what that means. It didn't take 6 weeks after God said that Sodom and Gomorrah had come up on his desk. And I know what that meant. God had been considering the matter for a long time, but Sodom and Gomorrah had already been judged. When God said to Abraham that their sins have come up, God had already passed the judgment. When he came to Abraham's house, before they went on the top of the hill to have that private conversation, what he said is, I have come down to see if the reports are as bad. Can you see God trying to have polite human conversation? Do you think that he needs to come down from heaven to see if the news is really as bad? Is the TV in heaven broken? Is the knowingness inside him broken? That's just human conversation. I've come down. God is trying to say to Abraham, to reach a fair judgment, you men must go to the scene of the crime. Do you not? That is what you men do. To find out if a man has really killed another man's donkey, if a woman has really killed another man's wife in a jealous rage, you men must use your feet and travel to the scene of the crime. You must hear testimony from one and testimony from another, and then using your limited judgment, you reach a decision. Is the woman guilty, or was it self-defense? Did the donkey die by an accident, as the man says, or did he deliberately kill your donkey? So that's what he said. I've come down after the fashion of you, who must move from location to location to observe a scene to decide, has wrong been done? I heard that thing, my heart dropped. The Lord said, Celestial, no. America has come up before me, and I have decided that I will proceed. My heart dropped further. God didn't need to tell me what he's proceeding with. He's proceeding with every word that I've ever told you since you first saw me on the internet in May 2019. Whether the word is from 2015, whether the word is from 2017, whether the dream was from 2022, whether the dream was from last night, he's going to do it all. The incinerator door is locked. If you know, you know. If you know the vision that I shared, then you know. It's from the prophecy fire. The incinerator door is locked. And not only that, but now the fire is coming. So he was telling me that he will proceed. And I came now to sit by my computer. I came now to sit down, and he told me, take your pen and write. The time is here, and I have made a judgment, says the Lord. I will proceed. I will move against the United States in a judgment arc that will exceed the judgments of ancient peoples, nations, and kingdoms. Whether it was Persia or Greece, Rome or Mesopotamia, it has never been seen in them what I will do in America. An ancient people, now resurrected in the modern age, have become a fruit that is ripe for the picking. I have considered everything, all of the details before me, and I will move against them, says the Lord. It is finished. Now you need to understand, even to the doubters, for there are plenty of those, and they will continue with us until the end of time. You need to understand that God will say a thing, and then there can be a period. Unfortunately for us, it is not likely that there is going to be a period after making this video. We have already started to see incredible flooding, fulfilling all the prophecies that I was making in 2019. There's flooding around the world, but I was making these prophecies in 2019 while it was dry, saying that catastrophic, destroying end times floods are coming to the whole earth, including America, whom God barely touches. America, whom God barely touches, now has tanker trucks floating in the water, now has sedans. I saw a car basically dancing in a whirlpool. The whirlpool wasn't in the sea, so obviously the car is not going to go down. It's just the waters. Remember, I spoke about seeing, I said one group of water will flow this way, cross currents. I said the flood will become so bad that God was showing me that one group of water will flow one way, another group will flow another way, and it will cause a wheelie in the middle, a circle, a whirlpool on land. And I saw not a truck, but these large, the ones that look like Jeeps, a white one, pointed nose down, going round and round in a circle that was formed because water was rushing this way and water was rushing that way. Water's coming up to the shoulders of people in the United States. That means that we've got less than half a foot left before it gets to the mouth, exactly as prophesied. Water's coming up to the shoulders of men. The chest, the hips, the shoulders of men. We've got about half a foot, depending on how tall you are, before water gets into the mouth. And remember, the prophecy is that I will flood them until the water goes into their mouth. And then they won't say anything about me anymore. They won't mock my words. They won't laugh. So judgments do take time. But the problem with the judgment is that once it gets pronounced, it comes without warning. Nobody is going to come back and give you an update later. And this is what happened to King Nebuchadnezzar. He had his dream. He called for an interpretation. The devil really hated that guy that he couldn't even remember his own dream. Surely if he had forgotten that dream and there was no God to reveal the meaning through Daniel, that man would have been destroyed without warning. Without warning. But Daniel was there. Daniel warned him. Daniel said, "Oh, king, let this one pass from you. Let this be something that will happen to your enemies. Let this one not be your portion, king." He told him that God is the one who gives men their position. He told him, "King, turn from evil and do what is right." This man was a man of precipitous moods. Could be enjoying his dinner 1 minute and then the next minute decide that he needs a huge statue in his honor. The next minute the statue is not enough, because now we need to make sure that the statue, which is not alive, doesn't get disrespected. Whoever doesn't bow down when we play music now to honor the statue, straight into a furnace. Which stable mind that is getting all the vitamins and nutrients is coming up with a furnace? So it's not 30 days in the stocks. Whoever doesn't bow to my statue will be beaten with rods and then will be placed in the public stocks for 30 days or will be put in the dungeon without food. No, it's a furnace that this man imagines to the cooking of flesh. And the reason he did it was to showcase absolute power, unyielding power. Because a mind that thinks up a punishment like that knows that no human being will run afoul of it. And indeed, I always remind people that Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were not the only three in Babylon at that time. There were many of them in captivity at that time, but not a single one of them was willing to honor God. When that music was played, even the Jews in captivity bowed down to an idol. Only 3 boys, and not 3 boys just in the fields somewhere. Because everyone was told to come to the worship ceremony of the statue. It was 3 from within the palace, easily identifiable. 3 who stood before the king. They were on his staff. They were in his employ. They ate at the king's table. They had jobs. He was basically their bread and butter. And people couldn't even walk away from their jobs in the COVID period. They couldn't do that. Then they will say the job forced them. You chose. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego were down to do everything that the king wanted, but when it came to their God, they were like, "Not today, sir. Fire or no fire. That's not how we move." That's the kind of person Nebuchadnezzar was. Wicked. He was a wicked man. With righteousness standing next to him, warning him right up until the day. He heard the proclamation in his dream. Chop down the tree. Band it about with a band of iron. He heard what the judgment was in the dream. Daniel told him. Daniel brought the recollection of that dream back to him. Cut it down. Banding it about with a band of iron means that the judgment was set. For everybody knows in real life, when you put metal rings around trees, you are basically doing it to preserve the stump, to keep it in a state that it will not die or rot or anything like that. That man was locked into a 7-year grass-eating, no brains, no human understanding, like a wild beast of the earth judgment. He heard all that, and he was not moved by it. He was not moved to retrospect. He was not moved to self-inspect. He wasn't moved to consider his ways. As Apostle Paul said, oh man, consider your ways. He just thought to himself, well, that's interesting. And he just carried on exactly as he was. Yet he did not understand that a proclamation had been made, a warning had been given, and a judgment would be set based on his conduct. He didn't self-regulate. He didn't change his conduct. And so one day, a day that Daniel wasn't there, the Bible doesn't tell us that Daniel kept creeping back. King, I noticed that you're still rude. I noticed that when one of your people came to bow before you to give you the royal agricultural results, when you read them, you were so angry that you kicked the man in his head, and then he rolled down all 12 of the steps of your palace. He's in a concussion now, King. This is not the conduct that God was calling for. It doesn't tell us that Daniel came back to do that. What it does tell us is that one day, behaving as usual, Nebuchadnezzar went out to the front of the palace, and he stood where he could get a good view and said, but observe all this grandeur, all this power, the military and the Marines, the magnificence of the White House, and the White House ballroom that we're building just for fun. Observe all the money that we've pumped into Israel, the money that we've given Ukraine, while our citizens can't make rent. Observe the child trafficking through official channels. That was a particularly good one, that we managed to usurp the state apparatus to traffic children, and we've branched out. We use shipping containers and we bring them in from all over the world to feed the hungry beast. We've done well, and we couldn't have done it without me. While the words were still in his mouth, the exact proclamation that was cried from the heavens was cried. Not a dream angel this time. A real angel cried out, chop down the tree. And that dude went down on his knees, probably changing like beast man, his brains gone. Imagine a king running off on all fours because he somehow strongly feels that he needs to be outside. Thus says the Lord, the world you knew is over. The lives you lived, all of you who hear this, even you who are not native to this land, the lives you are used to are over. The judgment day is here. The world is about to change. The fall of Babylon is here. The day of her judgment. According to Scripture, for strong is the Lord who judges her. I have considered her well-doing, and I have seen her evil. There are barely any who do well, and almost everyone does evil. Therefore, commence the fall of the nation. The fall of the wicked is now. Thus says the Lord. You're listening to this, you think, oh, it's just the elites who are wicked. They are wicked. I cannot say that every single one is wicked. But as a group, as a category, yes, rich people tend to be very wicked. They're wicked either in physical acts of wickedness. They're wicked simply in the way that they do not consider the lives, the times, the toil, and the struggles of anyone else except themselves. They only know themselves. They only see themselves. Money in the hands of rich people is largely useless. They don't seem to have an affinity for widespread change making. I guess it's too much work, and for people who wake up at 11, this is a difficulty. So God is saying, and God was talking, he was saying this, and at the same time I was saying things in my heart. I was thinking things in my heart. For instance, when you hear this part where he says, I have considered her well-doing, Babylon's well-doing, and I have seen her evil, it's because I was crying out in my spirit as he was making the proclamation. I was crying out. I was saying, God, but we're here. Not everybody is wicked. We are here. We pray. We intercede. We stand on the wall. Our righteousness is here, God. You know, the righteousness that we receive as believers, obviously, not the righteousness of man, which is like a filthy rag. But I was like, the righteousness is here. And I was saying, God, what about the prayers? What about everything? And he was saying, I've seen the well-doing, meaning that I've seen the efforts. I've seen the praying. I've seen the interceding. I've seen the trying to talk to your family member. I've seen the trying to share the videos. I've seen there's such a massive contingent of people who have come back to the Lord through this blog. God bless you. You were going to be cooked like bacon out there. And notice I didn't say steak. Pig is the unclean, forbidden one out there. You were going to be cooked like an unclean, forbidden thing out there. It's a very good thing for you that you decided to choose Jesus and not weed. It's a very good thing for you that you decided that it is not too expensive to put a wedding together and stop sleeping together as fornicators, claiming that because you love each other and you have children, it's okay. It's not okay. It's not okay. It's a very good thing for you that you decided to pause in that chasing the bag, climbing the career ladder track, and you found a way to integrate Jesus Christ back, not only into your life like a clip-on, you found a way to crack your life and pour him into the center of your life. And you began to find that everything was easier and better, because being in a corporate suit does not excuse you not having a relationship with God. A lot of dead wood for the fire has become wet and green again. And we all know that green wood does not burn too well. So instead of being solid dry wood that would catch when the judgment of the Lord began to come, a lot of people have had so much water poured on them through this blog. And God bless you, because you heard the word of the Lord and you came running back and at just the right moment. And yet God is still saying that for all that, it's not enough, because we are outnumbered by the wicked. And I've always insisted that you should know this, because in a family of 5, you're the only one. In a family of 6, it's just you and your sister. Your dad is there, your mom is there, they don't believe. You're their only child. You're locked into this blog. You got your first Bible in 2021. I've had young people writing me, hi, Miss Celestial. I've basically grown up with you. I started when I was 21 and I'm 25 now. That means that kid has 4 years. Not of Joel Osteen, not of Pastor Hagee, not of Pastor Evans, under his or her belt. They have 4 years of sound Bible teaching. They have built up a Bible reading habit. They now know how to take communion. They now know how to do spiritual warfare. They now know how to walk apart from the Gen Z generation. And God is still saying, for all this, miss revival. For all this, I'm going ahead. Do you know what that means? There's not enough of us in this country to restrain the hand of God from cracking this nation. Do you know why God is going to break up this nation using California? Let me tell you why. When there's a rat underneath the kitchen floor, you are not equipped to hear that rat. You're too far away from the ground, and your ears are not sharp enough to hear the movement of tiny paws underneath the floorboards. But your cat can hear it. Your dog can hear the movement of a mole, of a chipmunk, of a rat underneath the floorboards. And once your animal has heard it, he or she can't rest. He or she can't sleep. He or she will just keep whining and scratching and whining and scratching and whining and scratching. When the rat moves that way to avoid the dog's attention, the dog goes exactly to the point above the floor where the rat is. All you see is senseless movement, Christians. That's all you see. Why is the judgment so harsh? Why that's all you see. You see a God who doesn't make sense to you. God is trying to get at things that are underneath in this country. And when I started bringing out the things, there was so much resistance because people who are infected with worms and maggots consider it very rude to have their worms and maggots brought out to the surface. They get mad and they hate it. But God wants to get at what is underneath, and he's going to get at what is underneath. So this life that we're living, listen to me. You are going to leave this country. This is a fact. I'm tired of saying it. First and foremost, if you are the parents of children and you are still trying to do eeny, meeny, miny, mo, you are a wicked parent. You are wicked. And here's the reason that you are wicked. You have received a direct warning from God that scattering from Babylon, according to Revelation chapter 18, is a fact. You have secondly received constant reminders of wars. It's not rumors of wars that America is going to have. It's the actual conflicts. Fighting with Russia, fighting with China, fighting with other people. Something happens with Iran, the entire nation is frozen. I want to let you know that America is fighting for her life internally. If you believe that she's still a strong nation, you are a foolish person. You are as foolish as she is, because unfortunately she still believes that she's got it. She's already captured in war. There's already a rope on her neck and chains around her arms, but she still thinks that she's still got it. That's like that boxer that greatly underestimates the new young lady or the new young guy that stands in the ring. Old champions sometimes don't know that their day of a knockout is coming. America's fighting for her life. If you think that you are not going to leave this nation some way, somehow, if your brain is still trying to do rapture math, if your brain is still convincing you, let me tell you how your brain sabotages you. You will hear what is called an absolute fact. An absolute fact is non-negotiable. The existence of God is an absolute fact. In fact, God's existence is so pure that it moves beyond absolute fact, which is usually good enough for most of us, and it now moves into the realm called absolute truth. The existence of God, the sovereignty of God is an absolute truth. It shall never depart. The heavens will depart, the earth will depart, we will depart. The reality of an all-knowing, all-powerful God, Yah, is an absolute truth. Absolute truth never shifts. What shifts is the position of the things around the absolute truth relative to their nearness or their farness away from it. The nearer you are to absolute truth, the better your understanding that you have. The further away from it, the further you get away from God. This is your brain on questions. This is your brain on logic. This is your brain, but what about? This is your brain on I don't think. This is your brain, but it doesn't feel to me. And then off into the lake of fire you go, because that is where your brain is taking you. Your brain will convince you that you're one of the ones who don't have to leave. And here's what your brain will tell you. I don't have the money to. You better find it. You better find it. I don't have the money to is not an excuse that we find in the Bible. When they came to take that lady's son in the Bible to sell him into slavery, she was frantic. She never said, I don't have the money to save my boy. And you know why God allowed it to be such a personal example as the slavery of the fruit of her womb? God wants you to understand that in the old days, without Alexa, Siri, and a Vassar education, right? An education from Harvard, an education from Columbia, God wanted you to know that those old ladies that were grinding corn had more brains than you. They got up and they made it shake and bake. They got up and they did what they had to do to not see their child go in chains. You have the remote and an automated shower and a garbage disposal. I just wish I could. She doesn't seem to understand that I would leave this active volcano shaking fault that's on the news every day. She started prophesying it, and then before you know it, things started popping off. But between my conveniences, I just wish she understood about the money. You're going to leave this place. The only difference is that you will get to decide how you leave this place. You're going to go back to where you came from. The only difference is that you're going to decide if you go back to where you came from early, which will give you time to build, or if you go back stubborn, late, which means that all the people who go back to where they came from, that you came from, will go early. They'll buy up all the land. They'll build on all the land. They'll buy up everything. By the time you get there, the land will cost 500 times more. It's going to cost 500 times more anyway, because once we have this earthquake, everything on earth is going up. Everything on earth is going to become scarcity. It's going to become what they call dear. Oh, the price is so dear, meaning it's so sharply expensive. Everything on earth is going to go up. Everything is going to become a rare commodity overnight. That's what happens. Martial law is going to happen everywhere. One form of it or another. One form of repressive government or another. Because of the damages that God shaking and tearing America to get at the rats. That's what's going to happen. I'll read you the scriptures later. There's scriptures to read you. I'll read them later. I cried out to the Lord. I said, Lord, but what of your people? What of your people? I'm thinking of all the people that have built up from the ground up, that have come back to God, that are actively fighting their inner demons, actively fighting their vices. If you're still in the process of fighting, you are welcome. The Lord will still fight for you, for even the lawful captive shall be delivered. Put that into Google and find out where it is. It's in the book of Isaiah somewhere. The lawful captive will be delivered. He'll free you. He'll get you out. The fact that you have the battle ongoing is good enough. It shows the desire to fight for your right to be a child of God. The Lord answered and he said, my people are in the midst of her, but I will still judge her, for their number is not enough to turn the wicked from their sin, nor have they even done the work of turning back the wicked from their iniquity. Therefore the end has come. Prepare funerals for Babylon. The burial is here, the burial of Tophet. The burial whereby the firefighter and the first responder will die in the same amounts as those they're trying to save. The burial whereby young and old will be touched with the same judgment, death, where the seas and ocean waves will roar and take peace from the earth. You will bury your children, you will bury yourselves. You will die in a great earthquake, and the subterranean cities beneath the ground will be exposed. The secrets of the land will crack forth, and you will see that you are a land of tunnels, a land where mysteries and evil go hand in hand beneath your feet. Thus says the Lord. And the Lord is telling me not to stop to explain that portion. If there's time, I will come back to it, because I know the people of the Lord will then say, but she didn't explain the part where God said, oh, but my people are there and I will still God is going to judge the country despite the fact that we're here. And if you've been watching my videos and understanding it, you should have known that unless you're planning to teleport to the moon or move, the judgment of the United States is coming, no matter who's the biggest Christian in the United States. It's coming. God says that the number of us is not enough to stop a sin judgment, like the kind of sin that America has. And he says on top of that, we have not worked to even turn the wicked from their iniquity. I always told you that the wicked is not spelt elites. Wicked is spelt you. Wicked is spelt your family member that wants to run their mouth on God all the time and laugh and tell you, why are you watching nonsense on the internet with that bed sheet on her head? That's how wicked is spelled. I've always told you, why are you worried about the rich people? You think God doesn't know where to find them and what to do with them? He's telling me to move on, because this is not the time to stop and comfort you and give you any assurances, because there are no assurances. All bets are off. Righteousness will be the only shield that you have. So I would suggest you work on it as best you can. Secrets of the land will crack forth, and you will see that you are a land of tunnels, a land where mysteries and evil go hand in hand beneath your feet. Thus says the Lord. When the Lord said that, in fact, I'll read a little bit more before I share. All those cities where people are working naked, working in rags, working with barely enough food and water to keep going, with chains on their legs night and day, like slaves. They will be discovered, and then it will be known how wicked America really is. There are cities beneath the ground where people work that have never been to the surface. They have never been up top, as they call it. It is a dream to them who have never seen the sky, the sun, the moon, or felt the wind on their faces. It is their dream to go to the place called above, up top. They are born down there without any documents or benefits or protections. And from the day that they are able to, they are made to work. That's all they do. Work. They are worker bees producing much of what we see up here. Life above ground is not solely run by our labor, by us who live up here. People are also stolen from above ground and made to work in these cities, but that number is not many. By far, the majority population under the earth is of black people who have been born into captivity, but there are all races there, white, Hispanic, and I saw many Asian people of both the dark and the lighter hues. All of them are bonded servants born under the earth. And Yah said that these cities are owned and run by the Jews. Let me just stop here for a moment. A long time ago, and I'm saying long, maybe 2009, something like that. I had some dreams, not only in 2009. I've had dreams here and there over the years. But this particular type of dream, because I didn't have the full understanding that God was going to call me into this ministry of prophecy, or that, should I say that I was born that, I was formed that. So I had no idea that God was going to one day basically commission what he had already put in me and awaken it. So sometimes I would have dreams and I would literally not know what I was looking at. I wouldn't have any understanding of what I was looking at. I wouldn't understand how to apply the absolute almost TV nature of what I was dreaming to any single Bible verse. And so because I was meticulous at taking notes, obviously from law school, I would simply file the thing and just keep it. That's what I would do. I would file it. I've been taking good notes since high school. I would just file it and just keep it and just say, okay, I've seen these. But then I would always write, like, I don't have the understanding of this dream. And as God was talking to me, the minute God said those underground city, it was like a horrible thing burst in me. And all those dreams came bursting out. The worst one was, I dreamt that this friend of mine, I used to have a really, really close friend in church. He and I, we were like, because we were managing two of the most important ministries in the church. And so he was managing media and I was managing music. And so these two elements in church are extremely important to how the church runs. I don't need to tell people that the music ministry, second to the preaching ministry, is the most important ministry in the church. How the worship is done, for me, I would go even deeper. You cannot come and stand on that stage with some kind of funky life, compromised life, and with the prophetic gift in me. I will know the minute you start falling off, and I will have to ask you to take a leave of absence, because what we're not going to do is have you and your boyfriend on the stage. And so your boyfriend that you thought you're hiding in your private life. And so we worked together so closely, spent a lot of time together. And then I had this dream that this friend of mine and I were invited to this very big event. I will not call it a party. I'm not going to call it a party so you can think it's at night with thumping music. It wasn't like that. It was an event. And we were invited with so many people. I would say that we were at least almost 200 people. That's a big event. We were invited to this place. And I remember when we got there, the decor was so beautiful. Everything was so well set up. We were all welcomed. A small announcement was made. And then we were each taken. For some reason, they didn't have tables whereby you sit, let's say 6 at a table or 8 at a table. The event wasn't set up like that. Everybody got to have their own little chair and desk thing. And so we sat. We weren't too far apart. We sat where we could give each other thumbs up and everything. And then they started to serve a meal. They started to serve a meal. So we had the appetizer and then the first course and the second course. And then we were given something to drink. When we drank this thing, the next thing I know is that we wake up and we are under the ground. Whatever it is that we drank was the kicker. So they give you all that food, which makes you somnolent. It makes you kind of heavy, just like a big lion or something that has eaten a big meal in the jungle. But the drink, I remember it. It looked like champagne, but I don't drink. It was just a sparkling drink according to some kind of ambrosia, very nice, non-alcoholic. You have that drink, but then you pass out like almost immediately. And then when you wake up, you're underground. And I'm telling you, that place under the ground is not a small place. Memory is serving me very well. This is not a small place. In fact, this is the place that Hollywood is constantly showing us in movies where the place is so huge under the ground that it has steps, levels of steps where you're like, I'm going to visit the people on level 71. Level 71, that's very far. That's 3 days journey. That's how big that place was. It was a huge place. And for some reason, it had a lot of mining activity going on. People were just digging that down there in a horrible way. And I remember I'm standing with my friend and they bring us a pickaxe. I'll never forget, like, you know, the pickaxe of the dwarves from Disney where you're supposed to use it and pick when you're mining. They bring all of us who are standing there a pickaxe and a shovel. Each person has a person that has come to basically orient you to what apparently is your new forever life under the ground, digging. And I remember my friend, his eyes filled with tears because they were telling us in a no-nonsense fashion that you are here now to work and to be part of this economy, is what they said. You are now a part of this economy. You are now a part of our world. And me, I pay attention to every single syllable that comes out of people's mouths. So I'm hearing economy. They're doing business down here. World. They see themselves as a community down here. There's people down here. My brain just kept, there's people down here. There's a city down here. And I remember my friend reached out and he took the pickaxe and the shovel. Though he was crying, many other people were crying. The crying that I started was a different next level type. It's the type that wins awards. These people were talking whatever they were talking. I dropped down on my knees and began to call on Jesus. I began to call on Jesus and tell Jesus, there is no way I can live down here like a rat. I am a human being. This can never be my ending. I was calling Jesus as if there was nobody there. The people were trying to tell me to get a hold of myself. Whatever they were saying, I don't remember that part of the dream at all. I remembered the way that I called on my Lord. I called on the Lord until I went into some kind of fit/coma/something. And I started going up through the rock. Up through the rock layers. Whether I was absorbing through the rock layers in the dream, or whether, much more likely, they simply took me and put me in one of the few elevators that they do have. They have elevators down there. Don't let those movies lie to you that it's only stairs. The stairs are probably just what they use, let the poor people use. Whether I was seeing myself absorbing through the layers of the rock until I came up on the top of the earth, or whether much more likely they simply put me in an elevator and took me back upstairs as a useless, hopeless case, whatever the ending of that was, I woke up and I found myself back on top at that venue that was completely empty. The venue was completely empty. No table, no chairs, no nothing, no sign of the active event that I had been at a few hours. I got up and I ran back to the city to tell people that our friend from church has been taken. They are living under the ground. They have everything down there. They are living. Not a single person believed me. Nobody believed me. People kept telling me, calm down, Celestial. What is it? What is it? What is it? And then when I calmed down enough to tell them the story, then I was dismissed as crazy. The ending of that dream is not a single soul believed me. And I used to weep and weep and weep for my friend that I left underneath the ground, as well as all the other people suffering under the ground. As the years would pass, I would see that underground city. I would literally see people. Listen, you need to understand wickedness. If you're going to be walking around in this earth with your nose in the air, attempting spiritual superiority when there's nothing in your brain but chopped cantaloupe, you need to understand that while you're doing all that, there is a diabolical mind that you cannot conceive, and therein lies Satan's advantage. Satan's advantage is not that you read the Bible and it says, beware because your enemy, your adversary is walking around like a roaring lion. That's not his problem. Satan's problem is not that you can read the book of Job and see what he did to Job. Satan's problem is not even that God has told you that Satan's purpose in life is to steal, kill, and destroy, and that Satan's method in life is always to lie. That when he speaks a lie, he is speaking of himself. For the devil himself is a lie and a liar. Satan's problem is not all of that. Satan's problem is that he knows he can take it where you can't take it. Satan is able to take it where mankind is not able to take it. Satan is able to walk off the surface of all reasonableness and exist here, 5 billion light years away from what the worst human mind will do. Satan is here. And then the minds that are here at the very edge are the ones he then begins to call and say, come unto me, and let me train you in utter diabolicalness. The devil's advantage is that he's always off camera, while you and what you think you know are here or here on the side of righteousness, and then you want to act like you understand that person. When it comes to the human being, Satan will always dehumanize it. Remember, I said that his life work is to turn two opposite. Everybody drinks from an upright cup. Those who follow Satan, their ritual is to turn the cup on the other side and then pour the water uselessly, wasting the water on the outside, and then lap like a dog, saying, "Hail Satan." That is how Satan is honored. Satan is honored by perversion. God's will for us in this earth, for instance, is to be clothed. Every time you see a man or a woman that cannot wear enough clothes in public or can only dress themselves provocatively, you are looking at a child of the devil. It doesn't matter if they say they're not dressing for the male gaze. They're dressing to be honeys. They're dressing to be baddies. You are looking at people that most likely, if you take them into a hot deliverance session, 22 succubus will start speaking out of their mouth at the same time. Leave us, leave us, leave us, leave us. We are many. You are looking at the activity of one whose mind has been brought to the edge. And now Satan is pulling it. For God has said in 1 Corinthians chapter 12, that the parts of us that cause greater shame, meaning our naked parts, he says, to those parts we attribute greater modesty. In simple English, cover your bits. That's what the Bible is saying. Cover your bits. Anytime you see a woman or a man who wants to highlight and define his bits in the front by basically putting saran wrap in different pieces of cloth material and calling it pants, you're looking at a son of Lucifer. You don't need to go near that type of man. There's nothing in him but lies and lust. In that order, if that is what you're looking for in a man, then follow him, because his footsteps are like the footsteps of the adulterous woman. Her footsteps lead down to hell. His footsteps, because he's a man and there's more power in him, he's going to take the elevator. He's not using footsteps. He's just going to zoom you on down into hell. You'll pop up on TikTok lying and then crying and telling people, don't date, don't get married. No, we're not going to listen to you. It all started with the outfit that you thought was fire. In the subterranean place, they make the people work naked sometimes. It literally looks like a version of Amistad, if Amistad had been honest and showed us what slavery was really like. 12 Years a Slave is one of the few movies that comes closest to the dehumanizing nature of slavery. Nakedness was used a lot in slavery because when you are naked and other people are wearing clothes, your mind literally begins to feed on itself and your sense of self becomes highly, highly, highly unstable and attacked. Now, if you go to these orgy parties where everybody's naked, then guess what? The dress code is naked. You're fitting in. But when everybody else around you is clothed and you don't have clothes, you are being dehumanized. Likewise, when you are put in a forced work environment where all your overseers and everybody else is dressed like the divergent crew, and then you are wearing no clothes with chains, working, or worse, the clothes that you have been given have literally been allowed to rot on you. You know that clothing rots when we don't wash it, right? When it becomes just caked with our dirt, our funk, our filth over time because of not being given showers. These people, the condition that I would see these people in, it is astonishing to me that I don't know if I even have any of these dreams written down because I always keep my dreams. But the minute God started to say, the people under the ground, it was like an old memory in me just burst. And all these dreams that I've seen. In the Wild West, in the movies of the Wild West, when they go mining, there would be this little mining cart that rides on a track, that rides on a wheel. They have a lot of that stuff underground and they use that to travel. This prophecy is going to the place that God took it. And the place that God took me today, eventually my tears had to dry up. They definitely started with tears and with a heavy heart. But the way that God was moving through the prayer, the prophecy, I ended up in wonderment. Like what is God really talking to me about? So they have these mining carts that move, and then the mining cart will sit at a certain place, right? And they will have this light bulb that has, it looks like a claw. You know when a light bulb is in the wall and then they put like a cage or a claw on top of the light bulb to keep it safe in an underground place. Anyway, it's like that. They have these big square light bulbs. It's not a bulb. It's about this big, like a rectangle light, and then it will have a cage on it like a claw to give light. And then the cart is there. The cart is paused along whatever the work area is. I do not know what these people are digging. I don't know what they're digging. The tunnels under the ground go everywhere around the world. I don't know how they can go everywhere around the world because we have large areas of seas, for instance. So my understanding doesn't quite get that, but God was saying that they go all the way to India. Now, to get to India, you need to fly. You need to fly to get to India. But apparently there's a way to walk or ride to India that is even faster than a plane. It is all transparency here. So when I have the understanding of a thing, I give you the understanding of the thing. When the understanding of the thing is not with me, I will prophesy with the full certainty that if God said it, it is so. And so I've had these dreams. That one, that was the worst one, because that dream left me definitely with the clarity that it's not everywhere that you go and it's not everything that you eat. And that's fine because my parents raised me with the understanding that you eat at home and take care of yourself at home before you will go to any event and start acting out there and pretending like you're not fed. So that part. But those who just like to go everywhere and drink everything, I want to let you know that you can look at something properly advertised. You can look at something that is big. They will set it up and they will snatch all 300 of you. Every last one of you that comes, just in case you think in this world it's not possible. There's so many of us. If you ever go anywhere and think, oh no, I'm safe here because there's so many of them, the reason that there's many of you is that because that's the exact number they need. You that can't stay at your house, that's the precise number they need. That big 500 member all white party, that big, oh, come to the yacht, the first 300 on the yacht, then we're going to sail off and have the party offshore. No, the very first two sips of whatever it is that you're sipping is guaranteed to make you start to taste sound and taste color. And that boat that they said, oh no, we're just going off about 20 minutes from the shore to avoid the cops and everything. No, that boat is continuing to set sail because you're going to Turkey, both male and female, to service people in the brothels. Don't ever think that a crowd is your safety. So that is what I've seen. I've seen wide angle shots into these cities where you're standing like you're standing on a top row and you can count at least 15 rows down, 15 levels down. Almost like a honeycomb beehive. Almost like a honeycomb beehive. They are very, very deep in the ground and very, very big. And that's why the Lord was telling me before he gave me the prophecy today in the afternoon, he was telling me in my sleep last night that there's subterranean caverns. And I was just thinking, okay, subterranean cavern. Okay, maybe a little hill, maybe a little scoop. No, it's not a little scoop. Memory is bringing back to me that they have people there. They will have you in clothes. You know, your clothes will wear off until the breast part eats out. Your clothes will wear off until the strongest part that will stay is the neck part. The neck part will stay, the zipper part will stay, and the cuffs will stay. The rest of this part, with continuous use, I saw that it tattered. Basically, a person would have a cuff, a person would have the sleeve joint. This whole part will be torn out. Their whole front will be out. Their whole backside will be out. The pants would be so torn. Basically, they look worse than any kind of ragamuffin that you have ever seen in a Charles Dickens novel. And that person is still laboring. A lot of black people with hopeless eyes. You know this actress that is called Lupita Nyong'o, the way she's able to just make those hopeless eyes of terror. That's what black people were like under the ground, working. All nationalities, small little Asian boys carrying their little soup. You know when a child gets soup and he's so happy. These people don't even know what sunlight feels like. Then you are going to Super Bowl. Then you are going to NASCAR. Then when my video comes on your FYP, you are so annoyed. Click, block. I don't want to see this. Report to YouTube. Why? Because you want to stay in your complacent pig pen, Wilbur. You just want to stay in your place of comfort. You don't want to hear anything that could ever hold you accountable or cause you to face a reality that you don't want to face. So, God says that there's going to be a massive earthquake in the United States and the subterranean cities that are under the ground are going to be exposed. Before, he was only talking about tunnels. He was talking about tunnels in Anaheim, which we all know is the home of Disney World, the home of trafficking children. But the thing is, the question is, people, where would the Anaheim tunnels be going? If you have tunnels under the ground and the tunnels go into all the little hotels, come to Disney World, come to Disney World, family fun. Then a tunnel is ending right behind a bathroom closet in a hotel. And they just sit there and they look through the tiny holes watching the family. 2 kids. Great. Don't be sloppy, Louis. Don't be sloppy. Just get the little one. The big one looks like too much trouble. He's 15. Kid looks kind of big. No, get the little one. He's 7. Those people can actually sit in that closet and go, psst, hey kid. And you know a 7-year-old. You know them. I can hear talking in the closet and the older brother's like, shut up. Don't bug me. Because he's on Snapchat with his boo. And that little one comes into the closet. Those closet doors move. They shift. They move. They're nothing but clapboard. They lead into tunnels. America, let's talk about it. How many people are reporting that they heard something, something happened to them. There was a tussle, but they managed to fight it off. And then when their husband came into the same bathroom and pushed something, how many times have we seen on TikTok a whole huge cut out door that comes out as soon as you move the sink? As soon as you shift the sink actually moves the entire bathroom wall seamlessly aside. And then there's a whole tunnel going out that even the man, even a husband recording that, does not want to penetrate further into that tunnel. They'll just walk in for a couple of feet, record it, and come back out and put the video out. This is America. This is America. Sign into a hotel. The second you get into the room, single female. Yes, Caucasian. Yes, alone. Room 30 this. There's a key card cut already. How many women are saying that they woke up to find, if they hadn't put that little safety, you know that little safety thing? If they hadn't slid it across on the metal rack, a man is opening housekeeping. How are you housekeeping at 2 o'clock in the morning, sir? What are we doing here? What kind of cartoon is this? How are you housekeeping at 2 o'clock in the morning when I have a do not disturb sign outside? It's human trafficking. It is human trafficking. There's so many needs and purposes for it. But it was all the way in 2020 that I prophesied in the prophecy, Blood to Drink, that God showed me that America has endless altars and that they need to eat. They need specific 30-year-old black man blood for a ritual. They need specific redheaded. She has to have green eyes. Don't bring us a redhead with normal eyes. Don't bring us a blue-eyed one. The spell book, the recipe says red hair, green eyes. We need 3 little black children under the age of 5. Then the whole neighborhood is up in arms. People have pitchforks ready to lynch the police. Why? Because babies are going missing. Adults are going missing. The number of adults that are going missing is not as much as it was when I first started. It was mostly children they wanted. But guess what? The altars are hungrier now. I said this in 2022 or 2023. The Lord said that the devil is requiring more. He's requiring more from every servant, every worker. And I told you that even your pastors, you will start to see more and more the nonsense that they're saying, the wickedness that they do, because the devil is requiring all his servants to step it up. This is why God said to me, my already tired self, work, 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 work. He was saying it to me like that. And then I saw myself trying to outrun the fulfillment of this blog to finish, so that you would have heard everything, so that when it happens, I can legitimately tell you, God said that. God said that. He said it to me on this date. It doesn't matter if he said it to me in 2018 and I only got to make the video in this time, 2025. The date is on the prophecy. He said it. Don't give that thing to the devil. Don't dare give it and say bad luck has happened to America. That's a judgment. That's from God. The people are going into these cities, but the majority of the people in the cities are born there. And God said a great earthquake is coming to expose the cities. A great earthquake is coming to expose why Disneyland has all those tunnels. A great earthquake is coming to show that people are working naked, working in rags. They barely get enough food. They barely get enough water to keep them going to do the work. They have chains on their legs and their arms, and definitely in my dreams, I would see the chains. I used to wonder, why am I seeing people under the ground? What are these people doing under the ground? How did they get under the ground? When I say heinous conditions, when I say heinous, the kind of dream that you wake up from and you are just so low, so cryy. What are those people doing under the ground? Is this a depiction of hell? Is this a picture of hell? God, is that what it is? Is this hell? Is this a picture of what hell will be like? To have barely no clothes, to have everything drooping and torn on you? And then you just see them. He just presents them staring next to this cart that they're supposed to dig and put whatever it is that they're putting in that mineral cart. And then when the cart is full, then the cart goes like this along a track by itself. It doesn't need a person. It will just go along a little track, just like Disney. You know how they have the little things in Disney, they always show it to us. It just goes like that, carrying itself, and then another one just comes and sits. Then everybody just looks at it. Then everybody just starts digging to fill that one. So Yah says, with the discovery of these cities, that is when people will know how wicked America really is. These people have never been up here. Sunlight, the beach, a hot dog, swimming, proper showers, a bed, birds, elephants, everything. They've never seen it. They call here up top, above. And he says, it is a lifelong dream to those who have never seen the sky or the sun or the moon or felt proper wind on their face to come up top. And that's because there's a whole birthing economy under the ground. There's a whole birthing economy that doesn't go with a birth certificate. And that automatically means, as you will hear, there's no death certificate. There's no social security benefits. There's no job. There's no education system. All the things that we are seeking up here, striving for, pushing for, trying to get. There's nothing like that. They're born without documents. They're born without benefits. And from the day that they're able to, they work. This is literally slavery, because on the slave plantations, as soon as it was seen that you're able to hold the little thing to make a sheaf, you would get out there in the fields at usually age 5 and start making sheaves. You have to make a sheaf along with everybody else, because your purpose as a slave is to work. It's not to find self-fulfillment. It's not to pursue your dreams. You were made to work. Even if you are a product of love to your mother and father. Your mother's a slave, your father's a slave. They don't see you as the benefits of labor. They don't see you as something that brings in wages, For an owner, to them, you're a child. But to Massa in the big house, you are nothing but an asset. Your birth is literally written down in his ledger the same way as he gets a new horse. He now has 82 slaves. He had 81, and then so-and-so gave birth, and now he has 82. You're an asset. You're a numbered asset. And that's how it was with these people. That's all they do. They work. They are worker bees producing much of what we see up here. Life above ground is not run solely by our labor, by we who live up here. And like I said, some get stolen from above ground. God is so meticulous. I'm just going to give this prophecy and see how it goes. When the Lord says that life above ground is not solely run by our labor, I want to ask you something that came to my mind. I was writing down the Lord's prophecy. Everything in Walmart is trash. Like literally everything. To a certain extent, even the people that go there and the people that work there. Walmart employees are some of the worst trained, some of the worst behaving, and also, unfortunately, some of the worst paid employees in the United States. And then everything that's on the shelf, except maybe Tide, is trash. It's poorly made. It's poor quality. It's literally there just to help you get by. You need to wash your clothes with something. Your kids need to drink something that's like 200 billion watts of sugar. So you get whatever's on the shelf. They have the flaming Cheetos and everything. And they basically provide the lowest level quality. And we can't even blame China. Don't even open your mouth and say it's made in China, because the stuff that they make in China goes by grade. And China has grade A stuff that they make. For instance, we just discovered this year that some of the grade A stuff that China makes is your pretend Birkins. China makes that. China just doesn't get to brand that. They're making the bags that the so-called influencers are lying and saying that it comes from France, that it comes from Italy. It's nothing but China's grade A stuff. China makes grade AAA, grade AA, grade A, and then triple B, like that, going all the way probably to negative Z100. America goes and purchases negative Z100 stuff from China and then brings it here and perpetrates that. That's all China is capable of. When China comes here with the kind of toys and technology and everything else that they will have to conquer this place, you will have no choice but to change your mind. Those people have incredible weapons. They have incredible tech. They have incredible everything. The government simply doesn't want to trade at level AAA because level AAA costs money and America is broke. Everything in Walmart is trash. Can you explain to me why we believe that the Walmart people are billionaires off of selling trash? Even if you don't have an economics background, how much trash do you really have to sell at $5 and $4.99 before it adds up to billions? Is Walmart really moving that much products? Because we can understand why Apple's rich. Apple is out here slinging materials at $3,000 for one, without any shame. And it's not even that good. Apple is out here selling subpar phones for $1,600. The phone can't even do half of what other people's types of phones can do. But they are with a bald face saying that you should pay $1,600 for it. When you move a lot of that product, we can understand why Apple is billionaires. Can anyone tell me why $3.99, $5.99? Oh, it broke. Oh, let's just pick up another one from Walmart, because that's the allure of Walmart. Buy a Z minus 1,000 product, and when it breaks after 3 months, you can always go back and replace it, because in your brain, $5.99 doesn't feel like a lot. How much product do you think those people are moving for them to be on the Forbes list as almost the richest people in America? God is telling us that there's a lot more money circulating in the economy that doesn't add up to the amount of labor, to the amount of services that we have above top. Basically, above top, we're being propped up from down below. That means, please listen, that means that a whole ton of money is being generated underneath the ground that is not accounted for in our above top GDP. That's because the GDP is keeping track of the actual goods and services that America does, that we can see running through the point of sale. We can see it running through the point of sale. But all the other that's getting sold on the back end is going directly into a pipeline that goes into the rich people's pockets. So when the rich people say that they have $100 billion, they aren't lying. It's just that they made 40 billion of it above top and generated the rest from underneath. Brought it up, shipped it to other countries who then legitimately paid for it without knowing that the cost of production is coming from people under the ground who never get a wage. Not a cent comes out of the rich people's pocket to pay those people. They're just breeding them down there like rats. A baby can die at 13, and he will be considered an old man in that economy because of how he worked. God's words, not mine. Start work at 3. Die, the Lord said, at the ripe old age of 13. And the entire point of his life was how much value he contributed to the down there economy. Then you will sit in front of Jesus' face to say, please give America another chance, Lord. We're praying. Me, I reached my point, and I told you a long time ago, oh, she's wicked. She doesn't pray for America. Why should I waste my prayers? Why is it that when God is upfront in my face, I'm not reading you a different prophecy. I don't have a separate prophecy channel where I sit and prophesy the true prophecy to myself, and then I come and give you a false one. I read you from the same tablet. I even walk you through the prophecies the way I walk myself through them before making them. And then the Lord even adds more as I'm live on the screen. And then still with all that, a part of you continues to insist that America shouldn't die. And then you get offended with me when I say that I'm not going to pray to perpetuate this darkness that this nation is upon the earth. Oh no, a true prophet would pray. For who? For what? Did you not read your Bible where the Lord says, I do not say that you should pray about this sort? When Apostle Paul was saying, no, don't pray for that one. And when God said to Jeremiah, I did not say to you to pray for this people. You're offended because you don't know who God is. You don't know God's character. You want him to forbear to the destruction of other people. You want him to literally pretend that he can't see what he sees and that he doesn't know what he knows, and that your prayers, your precious prayers, are so precious that he should just continue with them because you are crying. Even if I'm saddened, I'm not going to start standing up in front of God and then saying, no, Lord, no. I was just asking what is to become of us, his people, because we are in the midst of what I know are going to be destroying judgments. And he said, I'm judging in spite of my people being present. I'm judging in spite of your presence in the land. And I always told you that judgment is like an umbrella. Who's seen this movement? Who's seen this movement in my videos? That judgment comes to the whole of the land. And the best that you can do is then ask for the Lord to be a covering over you as the overarching judgment comes. That's what God did for Noah. That is what God did for Noah. People are waiting to be raptured in September, but in the real world, God protects like what he did for Noah. So, God says that the majority population working under the earth is black people that have been born into that captivity, but that all races are there, white, Hispanic, and many Asian people of dark and lighter hues. And you can just bet, you can, if you want to know, oh, do you think there's any Polynesian people there? Yes, there's Polynesian people there, because the reason that people get under that ground is that they started out being stolen and carried there. Nobody's born under the ground as a first opening. Women are trafficked into that place. That means that women, great-grandmothers, have died there, but when she came in, she was 16, cried her eyes out, and didn't have the kind of escape that God gave me. Those people just scooped me right up out of that place and took me out, or whether I absorbed supernaturally through all the rock layers of the ground and came back up, and I just found myself in the same empty venue where we had been wined and dined and poisoned. Many girls were taken down there, raped, having a baby a year until the body just gave out and they died, and then more were brought in. Women are very easy to traffic because they behave very unwisely when they're out. They think their little pepper spray in their bag is going to save them. Pepper spray can never save you when you're in the wrong place at the wrong time. Do you know that? Pepper spray can never save you. You will never be as strong as 2 or 3 guys. Never. It will never happen. And since they're not curating, this is not Handmaid's Tale type of baby. They don't actually mind if the traffickers rape you all the way to where they're taking you. They don't mind that if those guys at every rest stop, because they know eventually if the odds are in their favor, you will end up in the underground city pregnant. And since they're not looking to raise rocket scientists, and they're not looking to raise anthropologists, they're not looking to raise doctors and surgeons, they don't actually care who the man is, what his seed is, and what his DNA or his educational level is that raped you. They simply want you to pop out a baby that can work. So they don't care what color of trafficker raped you. If they don't rape you on the way there, they will rape you when you get down there, because it's a breeding farm. But this night, this Saturday night that I'm making this video, August the 16th, the clubs of the nations will be bursting with women going out to look for what their grandparents never left in the nightclub. So, when God was giving me this prophecy, he says that all of these people of all skin color, so it just basically depends on who they've caught. But I'm sure all nations, whether you're Irish or whatever, are represented down there. It's just predominantly that the highest that they've caught are black. And he says that they are bonded servants, which means you can't get out. Bonded servitude actually means a type of servitude whereby you're in for life. And he says that the cities are owned and run by the Jews. I was so shocked when God told me this. I will explain. I'm just going to share this vision of when God was telling me what the majority demographic under the ground is. I'm going to share this vision. I saw a black woman whose hair had been cut very, very short. Her hair was so short, almost to skin, but the woman was so majestic as a woman. She was so fit, like her body was so strong. And the reason I was able to see her body is because this woman was working stark naked. Very fit black woman under the ground with no hair, but working stark naked. And as she was working, that cart was there. She was working to fill it, and she was doing a lot better than some of the other people around her who seemed hungry or whatever. She seemed youngish, maybe 27, 28, I don't know. And a man just walked up to her, okay? One of the overseeing, managing men. A white guy just walked up to this woman and just grabbed her by her neck and just yanked her by her arm. And she was trying to resist. And this is the resistance of a person who has been through this mess many times. But the man got her down on the ground And he just raped her right there with all those people watching. And this woman just laid there. She just laid there. She just laid there until he was finished. And then he just got up and he kicked her in one calf, like, get up. Like, he didn't say anything, but he just kicked her in her calf, like, get up. And that woman, after going through that, had to stand up, had to pick up her pick, and had to start digging again in the wall. No washing. No space to cry. No, that's him over there, officer. No, that's the man, Your Honor. No justice, no nothing. Just a different way of life for someone who is caught in something. If what he did to her catches, then she will get a belly. And when the belly gets big enough, then she'll get maybe a 3 or 4 month break towards the end of her time away from the wall. Why? Because whatever they're digging out of the walls, whatever they're digging out of the ground is not as important now as the new worker that she's carrying. That worker is worth more than the others will fill in her missing time. That's the time she's free from rape. That's the time she's free from assault because she's carrying a baby. They don't want to harm that baby now in the lower trimesters, and besides, she's already pregnant, so it's not like you can add another baby in. When she's finished, she will come back to that wall. That is a woman that God made. That is a person that God made. That is a human being that is existing underneath our feet as we speak. I was so shocked that I was paralyzed at seeing what happened to that woman. I was also shocked in hearing who owns these cities, and I had to ask the Lord to be sure. I asked Yah carefully, do they run the city, Lord? Or are the Jews just holding power there? Meaning, are they just powerful people in these cities? And he said to me so powerfully with anger, they own them. They own them. And whoever else they are doing business with may occasionally be told about it and even come down to see it if they wish. They tell friends and their trusted business associates about these cities. And many American millionaires and billionaires have been down under the earth to see the tunnel system. This prophecy is about to shift. Many American millionaires and billionaires have been under the earth to see the tunnel system, the travel system that uses alternative energy, not the simple combustion engine that you have now on cars and planes and trains. There is an alternative energy format that is much cleaner and does not use fossil fuels like crude oil. It makes no noise or waste and is better to use. But they will not give it to men until they have found a way to explain where it came from and to monetize it. They've had it for centuries and they refuse to share it. But they use it often to accomplish wars and other things they need it for, like transport and technological advantage. A gross portion of America's GDP comes from beneath the ground. They farm fruit and food underground, grown without sunlight by an alternate technology. The economy down there is why there is more money and wealth circulating among the wealthy than can properly be accounted for by ordinary finite business practices and the labor that is done by you. So, God is saying that these underground cities are owned, managed, run, funded, possessed, created by the Jews. You're looking at me, I'm looking at you. In January of 2024, January 1st, 2024, the Lord began a very powerful and shocking series that caused people to abuse me even more than normal. Because the Jewish people are the protected habitat of the United States. And why wouldn't they be? The Jewish population in the United States is the second biggest in the world. The only place that you'll find them more is in Israel, false Israel itself. God began what to me was a very shocking series. The series was shocking for several reasons. For me, the first reason was how angry God was with these people. The amount of anger that the Lord was showing towards the Jewish population was not a small anger. It was a raging, boiling, overtaking anger as one who has held his peace for a long time, and not even held it because of what people believe on this earth. He held it for his own sake. But now the thing is that the Lord's jealousy for his real people, the true children of Israel, had reached breaking point, boiling point. And the Lord took me on a double-pronged attack. On one end, the Lord was saying that he will expose who the false Jews are. Revelation chapter 2 and 9, Revelation chapter 3 and 9. If you've never heard this before, you're going to have to do your homework. I also have a playlist of about 13 videos that is called Who Are the True Jews of the Bible. You have to watch that playlist from the first video that is called Yehudim Will Fall, all the way to the last one for you to have the full apprehension of what God is talking about. The second approach was now God talking to his people. All their sins, all their waywardness, all their pride, how they're still stiff-necked to this day, revealing their identities in the different regions of the world where they are, and saying that the prophecy that Yah will gather his people and take them back to the land in Israel had not yet been fulfilled. And that the falsehood that America and other Western nations, the UK and whatever, tried to perpetrate by establishing the false state of Israel in 1948 is one that he will tolerate no longer. He said that he will destabilize them. He said that he will shake them to the core. He said that he was going to uncover them and show the entire world who they are. He said that he was going to embarrass them. He said that he was going to bankrupt them. Yah says that he will take the wealth of the entire Jewish state, as well as all the Jews that are here in America. And Jews in America are by far the richest bunch. They're 10 times richer than the Jews in Israel, by far. All the millionaires and billionaires, half of them that you see in California forever, for instance. How interesting. Half of them in Silicon Valley, they're all Jewish. They're all Jewish tech gods and stuff like that. These people have the economy of most nations in a chokehold. They are the face that is behind 15 shelf companies that when you finally get to the 15th one, when you finally crack the firewall, plug in the password, and rip off the mask, you're going to see Finkelstein standing there. That's the person who owns most of the big businesses. That's the person who owns even the power company in some countries, especially where they've gone public-private partnerships, where they're no longer parastatals or publicly owned companies that are owned by the government entities. A lot of these governments in some of these smaller countries, African countries, Latin American countries, they go broke and then they partner with private entities. And the private entities will always come out looking like Doug and Dave, but behind it, the rabbi stands. The ones who don't want to get their hands on it, but they own all equity in the company, and then that company buys another shelf company, and then that one buys a third one and a fourth one, and it's the fourth one who comes to do business in these different countries, so that you'll never be able to really do the paper trail to know who is the person who owns. It's one guy. It is one guy. Jewish landlords, one person owns 23 buildings. Ask me how I know. One person will own 23 buildings in this New York City, just for fun. I didn't say it's his kid's legacy. It is his own property. His son probably has started him off, when he was born. The 5-year-old probably owns three buildings for now. And then as he grows, he has to work his 3 buildings and multiply them until he has 23. Or if he's a good son, then he'll end up with 30 so that he can be better than his dad. They own New York City. They own America. They own everything. Your toes are walking basically on a captured nation. And God basically says that he's tired of them and he's going to expose them. He's going to scatter their communities across the 4 corners of the world. And he has already given his warning, saying that any nation that would take them in when they're fleeing, America, here's looking at you. Any nation that will take them in when they're fleeing, God says that that nation will be his enemy and he will destroy them as he is destroying the false Israel. So God said that they were in, for instance, you can try that prophecy, the hanging tree. Also try the prophecy, the synagogue of Satan. Yes, there are 3 you can look at for sure. Incoming, it's called incoming. And then the other one is called the synagogue of Satan. And then the other one is called the hanging tree. I think I remember very clearly in those three, as well as the inaugural prophecy that started off talking about the Jews. Yehudim will fall. God said that these people have a lot of blood on their hands. Now, I've always wondered, how, Lord? And one of the ways that he revealed was they start the wars. They start the wars because conflict provides a beautiful market for them to move guns, for them to move drugs, for them to increase the human trafficking in that area, for them to just basically spill blood on the earth. But now God is here talking about subterranean cities, masses of them, as well as tunnels going all over the earth. And now the Lord began to surprise me. This is where the tears went back inward, because my interest was just like, what? God is talking about alternative energy that is not the simple combustion engine that we have on cars, planes, and trains. The simple combustion engine that we need needs gas. Planes need gas. I don't know if trains need gas. I don't know what trains run on. I think they run on electricity on tracks. I think so. But definitely cars need gas, and planes need gas, and boats need gas, and jet skis need gas. And so God was saying that there's an alternate energy source that exists that does not rely on fossil fuels. So then this is basically something that could just completely compete with and destroy the fossil fuel industry that we have now, that needs a Chevron, that needs a BP, British Petroleum, that needs all these things, Shell gas and things like that. Yah is saying that this thing has no noise and no waste, and it's far better to use than normal crude oil based energy. But he says that the Jews will not give it to humanity until they find a way to first explain where it came from, and then to also find a way to make money on it. I don't know where it came from. But I have been saying that in the future, they will come and tell us that we're not going to have a radiator and everything and a thermostat. They're just going to put some green crystal in the wall and then tell us this will power the home. This will keep the lights on. This will put the thermostat up when it's cold and bring it down when it's hot, but don't touch it, because as soon as you do, the radioactivity of it is going to poison the whole house, and then all of you will be quarantined and exterminated in here or something. So I don't know if it's that or if it's something else, a cleaner, greener fuel. But God says that it's centuries old, which then lends heavy probability and possibility to the fact that it came in some green hands long back with the Egyptians, long back when the Nephilim roamed freely and were marrying everybody's daughter without protest. Centuries old, and they refuse to share it, but they often bring it out during times of war, and they also use it for things that they need, like improved transport and also technological warfare. So then God tells us that a huge part of the US GDP is from underground. The fruit, Yah says it's coming from underground. This really answers my question about cucumbers, because you cannot leave a cucumber in the fridge for dust. While refrigerated, it starts to get massive radioactive holes. I'm talking about the long ones that they call English cucumbers. And then conversely, you can leave an apple outside for 6 generations and it's going to stay fine. They're growing farm fruit and food underground by alternate technology. Again, Yah says, without the sun. This could be why foreigners come here and begin to complain about the fruit and the food. This really could be. I see it all the time on other channels, excuse me, please, where people say, the pineapple in my country is so different from American pineapple. The pineapple in Mexico tastes better than American pineapple. This could really be a reason why. Because who really makes food without sunshine? The economy down there is why there's more wealth and money circulating among the wealthy than you can properly account for using ordinary finite business practices and the labor that is done by you. Basically, we're not working enough up here we're not generating enough products and enough services to account for each one of these people claiming that they have $100 billion each, competing on the Forbes top 50 list. It's just not possible, because $4.99 is $4.99. There's no way that just because you own a McDonald's and you've been selling a burger for $2.99 and then you only just recently jumped from $2.99 to $12.99, there's still no way, there's no accounting for the monstrous fortunes of the people who have them. And now here is something to understand. Underground cities produce a vast amount of labor and services. Underground cities produce a vast amount of labor and even services that we who are above ground benefit from and consume. But we never know that human beings like ourselves are being held in captivity to produce them. And all the while, the world goes on like nothing is amiss. I continue. There are single lane highways and double lane highways in the world beneath you. They're constantly building there, and it's the free laboring workers who build it. Anything that needs to be done, they do it. They labor their lives away, and then they die. Without social security, without government benefits, without legal protections, without personhood, they exist beneath the earth. They get nothing but a short, sharp existence in which a person can work from the age of 3 years and die at the ripe old age of 13 through an accident in a mud pit, or when a mining hole caves in suddenly and traps him in it. At 13, you can die having known no love, no comfort, no peace, no nothing. Your life is just counted as the value of the labor you gave. I will demand a reckoning for each life lost under cover of darkness of the earth. You will pay me for these souls. Thus says the Lord. There are underground cities and subterranean tunnels that go all over the world. As far as India they go, as far abroad as that, and even further. Now, beyond India, there's China and there's Japan and Australia, and then zip. As far abroad as that they go, and even further, traveling by a form of lightning that is more powerful than the electricity you have today. Electricity is old. It is older than you have been told. And there are forms more powerful than what you are allowed to see and handle. It is also cheaper than what you now produce. He's talking about this old electricity. It could be free or almost free according to the ancient technology that is being withheld from you. The world could be provided electricity for less than 1 or 2 households a day. The old technology is with the keepers of wisdom, but they refuse to share it with you. I will tell you more about it when it is time. Ancient technology and wisdom exist in secret, in that only a few know about it. But things exist beneath the veil that I will tell you about when it is time, so you can tell it to them. So the Lord is first of all talking about the existence of, I'm going right back to the top of what I read. The Lord is talking about the existence of single lane, double lane, and multi-lane highways underneath the world, underneath the earth, in the world beneath us. And that means that in order to encompass a single lane highway, okay, a single lane road exists outside everybody's street. There's a left and a right outside everybody's street. That's single lane. But then he's talking about double lane and multi-lane highways, which means that this is vast amounts of space. This is vast amounts of space. This means that tons and tons and tons and tons of cement went down to build this place initially. And he says they're constantly building down there. And anything that they need to make, anything that needs to be erected, listen to me, they probably, because when it says in this prophecy Anything that needs to be created, let me finish my thought. Anything that needs to be put up, a new this, a new that, we need a new silo. It's the free laboring workers under the ground that do it. But the Lord said something curious, and this is why you have to really pay attention to what is being said. This was the benefit of the written prophecies. Seeing them in front of you would then give you pause to think. When he says it is their dream to go up top, you can only dream about something that your friend has told you about. I am certain in my soul that there are work projects that take place up here from which to make them go faster. They select the best people that they know, that they will tell you if you ever speak to another coworker, if you ever intermingle with the up top people, if you ever break out of your work team, because they're not going to bring them out and then mix them with normal construction workers. Because a normal construction worker will work, but during the breaks, he's going to say, hey man, where are you from? You cannot say down below. You can't say I'm from below. You can't really have a conversation and expose how poorly educated you are, that you can barely speak, that you don't know your name, that you don't know your birthday, that when they keep asking you, hey man, you got a wife, you got kids, talk, then you can't say anything. They're not going to do that. You're a 33-year-old, almost deaf mute. You can hear and you can speak. It is just that you are not conditioned to perform at the rate of a normal human. So if you carry such people up top, they definitely will form their own work teams with foremen that tend to stay closer to them, watching them, because if you mess up, they'll let you mess up that one day, but the minute they get you downstairs, to make sure that you don't mess up again, you're going to get shot. That is usually how these things go. So to say that those underneath dream of coming up top, if you never heard of up top before, you're not going to dream of it. You dream of it because sometimes when the rich people are having events, 2 or 3 or 10 lovely looking girls get to wash up and go up top, maybe to serve hors d'oeuvres. And you know something, if you don't understand how the minds of the 1%, because there's a lot of rich people that don't know anything about this. They're the ordinary rich people. All they're thinking about is their next coat. They're just in normal selfishness, the selfishness that tries to creep up on you when you're rich, that you have to fight against. And even Jesus said it. He said that you should make friends for yourself with filthy mammon, which basically means as a rich person, Jesus has already told you what your work is. Your work is works of philanthropy. Your work is to make sure that you will go to the high school that you know is not blessed. And instead of just saying, I've come to make a gift to the alumni, you will make sure that you do get the tablets. You are going to buy the 50 tablets and then gift them to the 2 senior classes. You're going to gift them to the senior classes so those kids actually have the materials to work with. Because if you put it in the hands of the principal, he's going to blow it all in Vegas, because that's probably who he is. A rich person's work is to better the world around them through the money that they have. So not every single one of them is out there eating human toes. This is not to be assumed. There is above rich people a class of so-called untouchables. And these people, half of them are not really people. Half of them are devolved from the Nephilim families that have eventually been able to take and hold and maintain a human shape. And then you have your Nazi bloodline also running in there. And then you just have the pure wicked, the opportunistic wicked. You have that class. These people delight. You see, when you get too rich, certain screws in your brain begin to loosen over time. It's inevitable. There's only so much good steak and good eating and good flying before the function of the yeast of pride will begin to work on you. And if you want to stay normal, then it's your job to fight that thing. And usually Christian rich people can do a better job than non-Christian, even though even they may not be perfect. Excuse me, please. But when you become too rich, boredom creeps in. The word for that particular type of boredom is the picture of a person just floating in an endless pool, thinking, being, and doing nothing. It's almost like a form of dissociation from the self. And when the brain gets in that state, Satan dives in with, wouldn't it be fun if? The name of that type of boredom is ennui. Inui. Even the way that the word sounds, Inui, it literally sounds like your brain is hanging on by two threads saying, please don't let me go. In that format, these people love tricks, they love riddles, they love whimsicalness, and they love to do things that other people don't know about in front of people's faces. When you're in that state, you just love to pull a little prank and enjoy it in the dark, dark recesses of your heart, knowing nobody knows that they're eating my daughter. Yes, you're looking at me, I'm looking at you. I'm not making anything up, and in your core, you know it. They will, and as people say, this is chewy, but light, but fragrant. Is it a new type of duck? And they'll say, no, but it's a person. They're serving people. They're serving people. And usually the people that they'll invite to eat people are people who have never eaten people before. It's the new wave of rich people that just got into rich nation. They just got in through their people eating husbands, and they don't know that they're about to be taken to their first people party. They just got in with their normal husband, and both husband and wife are unaware that they're about to go and eat a person. And the rich normal people don't know that the rich abnormal people do this type of thing because they're rich normal, not rich abnormal. The 1% are rich abnormal. They shapeshift. They love blood. They love flesh. They love hunts. They love the shrieks of terrified little children running after they've cut them on their bottoms of the legs, beat them or cut them with razors until the bottom of their legs are bleeding, and then send them out to run through the orchard, the forests, and the poison ivy, and then go ta-ta, and then ride on the estate, hunting the children as the dogs pick up the scent of the blood on the grass. You're looking at me, I'm looking at you. They do it in England. This is the Queen's family's favorite pastime. They have those savage hunts here. They do them with your favorite celebrities. That's why your celebrities look half crazy. This is why your celebrity will come out. They will do a movie and look normal. And then when it comes to the premiere, they look like they've dropped 50,000 pounds. They're nothing but neck and bones, standing at the premiere trying to convince you what a pinnacle moment it was for her to do Wicked. Both of them looking like they just left a concentration camp 20 minutes ago. Then the best that their fans will do is, something's off with Cynthia. Something's off with Ariana. They've been gang raped. They've been mass raped. They've been starved to within an inch of their lives. And they've been doing Hunger Games the entire time that the film was in production. Then they come to the premiere and they do the press junkets. You know, all the awards things. They're doing the press junkets on every type of crack. That's why they're like, I love you. I love you. Celebrities are nothing but puppets that go on the hands of rich abnormal. Then they just play with them in front of you. Then you just say, we love the Queen. We love the Queen. Beyonce is so sick of being molested. Her husband has had her with everyone but the kitchen sink. Tuck that into your pocket the next time you go out, Beehive Nation. That one's just for you. She's just an OnlyFans girl without the OnlyFans. So, there's something in the people who do this that will delight in knowing that there's a whole world under the ground, that with the press of an elevator at a particular location in the world that only they know about, they can enter into something that only they know about, a few of their business associates know about, and Jesus Christ is watching 24/7. I did say that Jesus is the silent witness to many things, but I think people are still grappling with the vastness of how this world that they live in is not what they think. They don't have social security. They don't get any government benefits. Basically, there's nobody that they can run to for protection. There's no social workers. There's no nothing. And please understand that these underground cities, they don't only exist here in America. They don't. Because if the tunnels are running under the ground, what are they running under the ground to? Unless they're just running to go and give delivery. Anyway, this is what God is speaking about, so I will confine myself to this. No insertion, no projection. So they're living without personhood under the earth, and God says that they have nothing but a short, sharp life. Imagine, born, put to work at 3. What can a 3-year-old do? A 3-year-old can barely sit still. What can a 3-year-old do? A 3-year-old, to answer the question, before you say, yes, Celestial, he can do a lot of things. If he is beaten enough, a 3-year-old will do anything, including perform sex acts on an adult male. You misjudge and you underestimate how powerful a force duress is. Duress is force. A good whipping, reinforced by the barking of a dog right in front of your face, reinforced by a good whipping, a 3-year-old will sob and say, Jack is a good boy. Jack is a good boy. Jack is a good boy. And Jack will do whatever his little blonde, brunette, dark-skinned Indian, Southeast Asian, Polynesian, Thai self is told. Pick your race. He will do whatever he is told that the big man tells him, because one adult fist is all you need to reset Jack at age 3. Jack can do a lot for the team effort. In case you wanted to dissociate and start going off into your emotions, which are not needed here at this time. Your brain is needed here, so that the next time you go to pray Psalm 109, you will put belly in it. You will pray it like somebody who knows what she or he is doing. You won't start any of that, oh, good Lord, no. You will lock into Psalm 109, and this time you will give it everything you've got. Jazz fingers, that's what you'll give it. Working from the age of 3 and dying at the ripe old age of 13. A wasted life, Yah is saying, cut short through a mud pit accident. Or when the mining holes that they will always send the smaller boys into, smaller girls into, go in there. We saw this and that. We've looked on the seeker scope. You know that thing they give you for a colonoscopy? We've sent the little robot in, and it literally saw diamonds in the walls. Pickable diamonds. You're going to take this little pick, and we want you to squirm in there and get as many as you can. Child goes in 2, 3, 5 times. Every time the pick is sending microfractures into the wall. You think they don't know that? They know that. But there's plenty more people where 13-year-old Jack came from. Every time he comes out, he's relieved. It's the end of a shift. Every time he comes out, they count it a win. More raw diamonds in the little cart that they give him to take in there. Until one day, it's the end of the road for Jack and the pig. The only thing these people regret is that Jack had filled the cart before the wall collapsed, and they didn't get his last cart of diamonds. That's all they think. Somebody dies without love, without comfort, without peace, without nothing, and God says that they simply mark it as how much labor did Jack give before we couldn't use him anymore. And God says, you're going to pay me for these souls. America, you're going to give me a reckoning for each life lost down there in the darkness. Tunnels going all over the world. They're connecting to something. No tunnel leads to nothing, and then it's a usable tunnel. No. If a tunnel is going as far as India, how do you get to India without going over the water? That means that you can walk to India or cart to India. There's a way to get to India without flying there and without being hampered by water, and that way is under the ground. And if Yah is talking about technology that is also centuries old, perhaps we now understand even better. Before there was man under that ground where Nephilim was staying dry. Because perhaps who built these cities? Who hollowed out massive 15-story high or more subterranean tunnels? These are things that we need to then, if that's your thing, to go and ask God. But these are simply things to have in the mind. Yah tells us these things that the mind not be limited. You know how difficult it is to deal with a God outside of the limits when your brain is inside such tiny, narrow limits. I never heard this from Joyce Meyer before. I mean, I never heard this in church. That's why I'm suspicious of it. And God is so vast, seeing so many things. He cannot communicate to his church because his church is on some type of, I never heard. I'm not sure. This is why I don't trust it. We don't trust you. That can't grow unless a seed falls into the ground and dies. It remains alone. That's what's not trustworthy. A person who claims to know a God who's ever expansive in his majesty, and the person themselves is still the same since they got saved in 1981. That is what is frightening. That's what's not to be trusted at all. So God is now talking about a form of lightning that is more powerful than present day electricity. Electricity itself, he says, it's old. It's older than you've been told, and there are more powerful forms of it than what you're allowed to see and handle. Can you imagine electricity that can put you to death if you increase the voltage on a fence? If the hairdryer falls into the water, that's the end of you. Yah says there's more powerful forms of electricity, and there's also travel by lightning. Travel by a form of lightning that is even greater than the electricity itself. How does one travel in a subterranean tunnel through lightning? Actually, there was something I was seeing here. I am seeing an underground train station, in that all train stations, of course, are underground, but this one is even more so, meaning that it's deeper under the ground than even where our subways stop. And the people that I see using it are from a very old time, because they're all wearing top coats and top hats. And the women are wearing also bonnets with parasols, with big ball gown dresses that spread out. And the train station was like this. Our subways are closed in that here is the wall, okay? Here's the wall that the subway, let's say here's one wall of the subway. And then the train comes in, and the train is a closed capsule. The train is a shut capsule. And then it has doors, and we get in the doors, and then it closes, and then we go like that. And I guess we're in the closed capsule because it's protecting us. But what I was seeing is a little cart came up. The same little cart that runs along the rails, that you fill it as a slave down there and then it goes. A little cart came up with a door that could open and close exactly like a normal door. And the man opened the door as if to say, after you, and the woman got in. And then they went, and it was deeper under the ground, and there was lights in that train station. There's no lights in the Victorian era. We're told that those people used gas lamps. That's what the history says. But there was lights, the same square light, big rectangle light in a claw along the walls, and they got into the cart, and then the cart went off like that underground. And another thing I saw was people in top coat, hats, muffler, I think the muffler is the thing that you put on your hands like that, something like that. A muff, actually. Yes, a muff. You put your hands like that when it's cold, and the big skirts and everything. And it was almost like a fair. But the only thing that caught my eyes with this fair is that they had lights. They had electricity. They had little fairy lights. And the central attraction was something like that, where the fairy lights came like that, like a maypole. You know how a maypole has different strings and everything, but the fairy lights came like that. And I just saw it was so pretty. The problem is just, it was the wrong time of life. Those people didn't have no fairy lights. They didn't have anything like that. Edison hadn't yet stolen Tesla's invention and pretended. Please don't argue. Thomas Edison was a notorious thief. He was nothing but a person who got close to people who actually had ideas, manipulated the core of their ideas or the functionality of their ideas out of them, and then was able to always take it to market first. That man that you see on Wikipedia, that man that you see on Google is nothing but a very old, white-headed American thief. He's just flowing in the same vein of his ancestors and his descendants, stealing, lying, and taking credit for things that he never did. Lights were not supposed to be there. But that fair that I was seeing with those old style people, you know, when they go out with keep their hands warm and they have the big puffed up dress at the back, they were going somewhere, and there was a beautiful collection of lights at a time when these people were just not supposed to have lamps, because they were always like, "Hello, mother," in the movies, and holding the candle and the gas lamp. But that is not what I saw while God was talking to me and telling me that there's ancient technology in secret, and there's things that exist beneath the veil that he's going to tell me about. He says, so you can tell it to them. And this part, the Lord did have to chastise me a little, because when he said the world could get electricity for less than 1 or 2 households a day, I was thinking the electricity that they charge us is in a 30-day cycle. 30-day cycle. Is God saying that two homes, their 30-day cycle light, their daily light could power the world? I had to ask. I said, Lord, are you sure it's 1 or 2? Or maybe more than? And he just interrupted me right there. And he said, I said 1 or 2 households can provide what you're paying, can provide the world with the power that it needs. So whatever this thing is, especially if it's approximated to lightning, which is billions of times more powerful than the electricity in our homes, but yet is free. What did Benjamin Franklin really discover with that kite? And so we continue. Being able to travel to India without going over water, using subterranean tunnels that go all over the world, even further afield than that. Traveling that is facilitated, the Lord says, by a form of lightning that is more powerful than electricity that exists today. Electricity, God says, being even older than the official date that we are given, and existing in forms more powerful than anything we've ever been allowed to see and handle. Cheaper too, cheaper, 1 or 2 households, using ancient technology, Yah says, that is being withheld from you. Why? Because they haven't found a way to explain where it came from. That's 1. And then number 2, they haven't found a way to make money off it to the exclusion of themselves. And we already know who this themselves is. So God says there's ancient technology and ancient wisdom that exists in secret, and only a few people know about it. But when he is ready, he will tell me, and then I will be able to bring it here. About the tunnels of travels to other countries, I did not see it. I just sensed that you can get to far away destinations very fast, much faster than if you take a plane. And I sense that the elites have been traveling this way for a long time, along with doing other things that they never tell us about. And one thing, the Lord said 2 words. I'm going to give you the 2 words, okay? The first word was, as I was writing this prophecy, he kept saying Cascadia, Cascadia, Cascadia. And I'm going to tell you that that Cascadia is not speaking of any faraway place or whatever. Cascadia is the Lord referring to the subduction zone, the Cascadia subduction zone. The Lord is still bringing to mind this California earthquake. And he was saying, as he kept saying Cascadia, Cascadia, he said, it's going to blow. It's going to explode. Now come to find, through the diligent efforts of those who actually go on the internet to look, that that place has multiple underwater volcanoes that the experts of the day are saying are starting to move up and get active and all that. The second word that the Lord gave me, which I have to admit startled me, was Tartaria or Tartaria. Now, this Tartaria place is very much, I guess you would say that people believe it is like Atlantis. Okay. I've never really, there's only so many hours in a day, and you have to be judicious with your time, which is why sometimes when I come here after giving a prophecy, that is basically telling people, please prepare your life, prepare your children, make sure that you don't have too many assets, make sure that if you do have too many assets, turn some of it into money, turn some of it into whatever it is that Dave Ramsey told you to turn it into, so that you can be prepared to live a better life when you leave this place. And then people will come here and be wondering, you said in the prophecy that God said this. Why do you think God said that? Ma'am, I don't care. I don't care. He said it. We only have so many hours in the day. There's so much to do. I find life to be so busy, and I have no one in my life right now, just me. And I can barely put things together for just me and manage this channel and manage my life. So the fact that you want to go through an entire 2-hour prophecy and then pick one thing to roll your brain on, you roll on. Just don't request that my brain roll with you. That's not how it's going to go here. When the Lord tells me something, He's said it. You make your peace with it how you want to. So Tartaria is not something that I've looked into. I first saw it, I would think about 2023. But the way that people were arguing about this thing on a comment thread of one of these videos that show you the giants in the landscape, which is something that God has already showed me. The fact is, though, that when you see it in a YouTube video, it's very unsettling. It's very scary, because I've been saying here for years that these things will wake up. If you see a gargoyle sitting on the roof of a church, even if it's not a real gargoyle, right? Even if it's a stone one that the church made, when magic enters the world and the world becomes... Every time I do this, you who are listening, you can't see me. I'm doing my fingers as if I'm running silky cloth through it. The world is going to become like this. The world is going to become so tangible. It's going to become so real that if you have crocodile effigies in your house that you got at the Little River Indian tribe when you went on holiday, they will wake up. The world is going to become so rich with an alternate form of being. Magic is going to come back into the world. That is the only way that I can put it. That is the only phrase in my heart when I see this time period. Magic will come back into the world, and there will be enough magic for many dead, frozen, paused things to open their eyes and wake up. And it's going to be worse than Night at the Museum, because Night at the Museum is just a movie. Night at the Museum is in the TV. It's not at your house. It's not in your neighborhood. Life is going to come back into this world. And so I was watching a video like that where they were showing all the giants that are frozen in a tree, a giant that is sleeping on the ground. I mean, the thing, it's not recommended evening viewing, if you ask me. So I saw that place mentioned, and the thing within it had 100 comments of people arguing back and forth. And it's supposed to be some kind of place that was almost exactly like Atlantis in terms of its unbelievable advances. I think it was somewhere out there in the Asias. So it's somewhere out in Asias, okay? Not like Atlantis. That was more Western, I think. So Tartaria is this place that is said to have, among other things, severely advanced form of... They were a people who were supposedly people who had electricity far before the time that it was ever... please excuse me, the light is fading, so I have to now move judiciously with time, but I'm almost finished. They were people who were supposed to have forms of travel that exceeded the timing of when they existed. They definitely, this business of electricity was definitely something that they were known to have. And that is about all I know about them. But what the Lord said to me today is he said the word Tartaria. And what I heard, I thought he said Tantaria. So I put it into Google to see what that is, because when he said Cascadia, I knew, okay, the subduction zone God is talking again about this earthquake and the damage that it will cause. But then when I looked for Tantaria, Google will always fix it for you and then say, do you mean Tartaria? And that is indeed the place. And Yah says that it is indeed, or was indeed, a real place. It is not a place of myth. It is not a place of legend. It is not a place of stories. It is a real place that had its own peculiar style of architecture, its own peculiar style of education, its own peculiar style, and definitely electricity and all the advancements that whoever on the internet says they have. It is just unfortunate that I do not know what they say they have. This is just the broad understanding that I had when I briefly looked into it, and I abandoned it because there's so much reading on it that I had to make the value decision. I'm not going to pursue this thing in depth because I have prophecies, I have life, I have a job, I have sleep. There's some rabbit holes that I just cannot go into, but I know that Yah said, tell them that the place is real, was real. So there is that. The last thing that happened when I was writing this prophecy, okay, did I mention that the carts come, these carts, the Victorian era carts that were in the deep tunnel where they were not supposed to have electricity and whatever, is that the cart will come and then you open and get in and then you ride to the next station, but super fast. So what God was showing me was a form of bullet train system that should not have existed when people were carrying parasols, long gloves, and were still having a bustle at the back of their dress. That is not what was supposed to be happening, because they basically told us that those people rode horses and then they upgraded to carriages. They had gas lamps. They had no telephones. They had to send everything by telegraph, coming soon, miss you, and things like that. And now God is showing me that there was a train station, you get in and then shh to the next station and shh to the next station, like that. That is what I was seeing, but with people in obviously clothing that's not us. We don't even have that, where we can get into a train and ride without covering at the top, and yet somehow the slipstream and everything is not messing us up. So the last thing that I saw as I was writing these prophecies takes a lot. As I took a break just to think about what God was saying to me and to hear his voice, because you have to make sure that you're hearing his voice. I saw something on the desk like black ants. I saw something on the desk like black ants. And it didn't actually look like ants. What it literally looks like was when you burn your toast so bad that the toast is a write-off, and you know it's a write-off, but you're still just trying to see what you can do about salvaging toast. So you get the knife and you start to scrape it off, and obviously it's going to come off in these chunks. It's going to come off in chunks. Well, I can't show you the size because it would be too small. It's going to come off in chunks that are definitely bigger than an ant, but some of them will come off and be very small, ant-sized. I saw on the desk, and like splashed across my computer, these little black crumbs. And at first I thought, what? This wasn't there before. And then as I looked, the little black crumbs started to move, and even moved on my hand. And I snatched my hand away from what I was seeing. I snatched my hand away, but when I looked at my hand, they were still there. They were still on my laptop. They were still on the thing. And I was thinking, oh, I'm seeing, this is not real. But I'm seeing, and as I looked, the Lord said, flies and gnats. Flies and gnats. And I instantly thought, and this is why I said at the beginning of the prophecy, that the place that where we are, honestly, as you have watched my mood change as I've moved through this prophecy, that is exactly how it was moving the first time, when the Lord was taking me through the devastation of knowing that we are locked into our final judgment here in America, and we're going to get it no matter what. Anyone who still has a mindset like maybe God could change his mind, you are a stubborn and a very rebellious person, and you deserve every single bit of the parabolic arc of the shock that is coming to you when you realize that all the foolish hope that you were holding on to was exactly that, a fool's hope, because you were told what was coming and you continue to insist in pride. We can still pray. You're not Nineveh. You never were. You don't have the humility and the fasting ability. You never were. It was always going to go this way. But then when we came into these technological advances and everything like that, and now we get to this point where I was seeing this movement like chunks of black toast like ants, the Lord said, Flies and gnats, or gnats and flies, gnats and flies. Gnats and flies, ladies and gentlemen, are the third and the fourth plague of the Exodus. The third and the fourth plague of the Exodus story. A long time ago, in 2022, I sat and I made a video that is called The Plagues of Egypt. And in that video, I explained that God said that before the end times are out, we will see all 10 of the plagues. So far, the one that keeps coming, that everybody is always shocked by, it happened in Jamaica, it happened in China, it has recently happened at the Sea of Galilee, is that waters turn red. Red rain has fallen in India. China has had a body of water turn red. India has had red rain, and the Sea of Galilee just recently turned red. And I know for sure that the water turned red somewhere in Jamaica, and the people were not having it. They were not having it. They were so shocked and moved by that. Some body of water turned red, and you guys in Jamaica, you know, I think there's a bridge on top of it because it was everywhere on social media when it happened. And people were saying, no, this is a terrible sign. This is not a good sign. So Yah said in that 2022 prophecy that all 10 of the plagues will be seen, including the final devastating one, the death of the firstborn. And when I saw these little black things that looked like they were just moving like little pieces of toast, the Lord was telling me that we are now coming into the season where this earth is about to start reporting huge clouds of gnats, which is a type of flying insect, as well as flies. Everybody's known and hated nemesis, at least myself. Because when they came in the plague, they were crawling all over the people, in their noses, in their ears. They are meant to be an irritant. And also, please remember, especially with flies, they have absolutely no training. They crawl on all forms of waste and refuse. And then coming to land on people, we are basically talking about the entry into times of diseases. So you have heard the prophecy. I will proceed August 16, 2025. And I will definitely be back with at least one more prophecy today because the Lord is saying work, work, work. I am Celestial, and this is the Master's Voice Prophecy blog. Thank you for being with me. Thank you to those of you who support the channel. Please do not interact with any strange person in the comments. You have to be more discerning when you see who's talking to you in the comments. If I'm the one responding to you, my name will always be circled in black. That is how you know it's the original channel. All the other fakes will have Master's Voice Prophecy blog XX2-15 or misspellings. They are all scammers. Please do not give these people money. I never ask you for money. All I ask for is your time, your attention, and to behave while you are here. That's about it. Please stop giving people your PayPal, your financial information. Please stop sending them emails. Please stop interacting with them. They are scammers that are trying to back end your financial information and bankrupt you. That is not why you're on the internet, to get scammed of your life savings just because you're watching a particular channel's videos. You have to be more discerning. You have to be more wise. Please make sure that you, as an American, will stop sitting on your laurels and go and get your passport. One day they will cut off the getting of passports. One day they will hike it up to $700. And then you will realize that getting $140 wasn't that bad, that you could make that mark. $700 will be an almost unattainable mark for anyone who doesn't have $1,000 to spare. Stop being the enemy of your own soul. Stop being so resistant and hard-hearted. Stop allowing your brain to gaslight you that nothing is going to happen. Plenty has already happened and plenty more is on the way. You have to be more responsible than you're being. You simply have to. Until I see you again, God bless you. And until then, goodbye.